Have you guys seen the bootleg fucking ones? The bootleg Zins?
I've seen a few.
They have bootleg Zins now.
Yeah, well, they're called zones.
Oh, oh no.
Yeah, I saw it at the
Is
gas
that like
station.
the Erebus version of Zins?
I guess. I don't know, man. I saw
Malgador puts
the
in
picture of
Zins,
it.
Erebus puts in zones. Yeah.
I saw the picture of it at the gas station today, and I
Vulkan
was
smokes Newports.
like, "Oh, that's not a lie."
Lehman Russ is probably a Copenhagen man. He seems like a dipper.
Grizzly.
I can see
Grizzly,
it.
yeah.
I can see it.
He's a grizzly man.
Nah, he just he dips Timberwolf just because there's a wolf on the package.
Yeah.
Oh snap!
I can see Lemon Russ wearing a flannel shirt, just tossing in the entire can. Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like he does.
That type of guy.
I feel like he would do snuff because it's different.
Yeah, fair. Yeah, I can see that.
Lehman Russ, it looks like you're just doing cocaine. No, it's different.
It's different. Don't worry about
Either
it.
that or a chewing tobacco. Like he seems like a chewing tobacco type of dude. He's just got like.
But it wouldn't be
I'm not
like
sure about
normal.
chew, though.
It wouldn't be
Yeah.
normal chewing tobacco. It'd have to be something extra. Like he would have like the tobacco rope that you fucking gnaw on.
Yeah, it's like a chew toy for him.
Yeah, exactly. See, it doubles.
Exactly. There it is. Just give him a rawhide ear.
He'd be the guy who's being like, nobody should ever like smoke or do nicotine or any tobacco, and then he puts in the entire like fucking just a hog of chew or some shit. It's different. Don't worry about
do
it.
as I say, not
It's
as
different.
I do.
Loga with your zones, you
Cool.
pussy.
Lorgar in his zone.
Loga, the Loga zone. Also known as how I got molested by a priest.
Log on the zones. Corax vapes.
Oh,
Oh yeah.
Terra would be.
Yes, but it's not like
Yeah.
not like these little geek bars that we have or whatever. It's an actual like.
No, he's
mod.
got one of the mods that look, but his looks like a fucking lightsaber or some shit because it's
Yeah.
like Primarch size.
Turns around and
Primarch
plays Pac-Man
size,
on it. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got like 18 1830 batteries or whatever.
Yeah, it just looks like a fucking chode.
Yeah. He's got them in all like a series parallel type of fucking configuration. So when he hits it, it's like a steam engine. Fucking
Angron just straight injects nicotine. He takes nicotine intravenously.
Dude, what do you think like the
braids.
Fucking, yeah, the cables are for?
Oh, exactly.
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, nice.
He's
yeah.
like Bane, basically.
Would that be Perturabo too? Because he's got all the cables coming out of his head.
Yeah, but he does 3 milligrams.
He's got the,
Father, why won't you upgrade me
lowered-
to the...
when Perturabo puts in a Zin, he lower decks.
Oh, God.
3
Father, why
milligram
won't you upgrade me to the 6 milligram?
No, Malcolm, sir, no, Perturabo, they're too powerful. You can't do it. You can't do it, Perturabo.
You give Dorn the 6 milligram.
Only because they're lemon flavored and I don't like them. No.
yeah, what would Dorn do?
Oh, jeez.
Oh no, Dorn's a pipe. Dorn's a
Oh,
fucking
oh,
sophisticated
God.
pipe.
Oh shit!
I just realized I wasn't in the entire time. I was like halfway in, so I cranked this all the way up to hear it.
Oh,
And then I finally, oh god, so loud.
I heard it too.
Yeah,
That
I
was
know.
Terrible.
I went around. I finally plugged. I actually like. See, it flipped out again. There we go.
Welcome to the wonderful world of
God,
tinnitus.
oh my god, oh, it's like an audio flashbang. What the fuck? God.
Dorn, I feel like is a classy dude though. I feel like
he seems like a
Cigars.
pipe smoker.
Yeah, pipe
I'd
and
say a
cigars.
pipe smoker.
Pipe and cigars.
Pipe. for
And then
sure.
like if you bring up like you're smoking a cigarette or some shit, or if you're bringing a vape, he just like gives you a little stare.
yeah,
He's like, okay.
but what
He
kind
just
of
looks
pipe?
at you distastefully.
Yeah. He won't say it. He won't. I'm like, he'll say it if you ask, but he won't say anything. But he's like,
Hmm.
okay, I'll see how it is.
Fulgrim smokes one of them like long cigarettes. The
Oh,
fucking
the Virginia Slims.
No, well, not
Yeah.
the no. I'm talking about the one with the like long ass cigarette holder.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, the big old long bitch.
Gotcha.
So your cigarette like sits all the way out here.
Nah, he has
Yeah, but
Fatty's
he-
Bile proceed to go and like grow him that special strong pack. But then he's like roll in the shape of a dick, and he's like, guys, it's a joke. And then he does it too many times, and everyone's like, is it a joke though?
Yeah, he
Is
just
it?
constantly rolls dick blunts.
Yeah,
Yeah.
all constant dick blunts. Yeah,
Fucking
the seeds are stored in the balls.
Kurz just eats cigars. He doesn't understand the concept of smoking
Kurtz
them.
just unrolls cigarettes and just eats them whole.
He just doesn't understand the concept, and he's pissed off at everyone because they didn't teach him how to use it.
Alfarius, you're too busy trying to figure out what exactly he's smoking.
Yeah.
Every time you walk by, it smells like something different.
It smells like weed and a cohiba. You're like, what the fuck is that smell?
What's going on there?
You look at him one time, he's got like a Zen in, but like you turn your head and look at him again, and he's got like a cigarette hanging out of his mouth.
Turn your head, look back again. He's got a gallon of PCP. You never know what he's doing.
Who else do we have?
Shit. Yeah, who else do we have?
Probably
Gilly.
nobody important.
What about Gilliman?
Oh yeah, nobody important.
no.
No, Gilliman writes extensive reports on the dangers of
Yes,
smoking.
Gilliman is the dude behind truth.com.
You are now listening to Heresy FM. This ain't your commissar station.
Oh, that's great shit. So, but yes, we are talking about the 18th Legion today. We are talking about the one, the only, the boys from Nocturne.
Yeah, for our one dude that's been fucking
Yeah,
begging
forever.
for us to do the fucking Salamanders.
One of our first like 20 subs, and he's always been asking just like Salamanders.
When is the Salamanders
Yep.
coming?
And now
It is
like
your turn. This is your time to shine.
like
We are talking
basically
about the
over a year
Salamanders.
later, here we are. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Be lucky we didn't wait till February.
I mean,
We still could. We can
Yeah,
just
bro.
keep this.
We
We can
could.
just keep this vaulted until February.
Shit, bro, why is the editing taking like 2 months? I don't know.
I don't know,
How
man.
did you release the Raven Guard before the Salamanders? Listen, there's a method to the madness.
Because this episode's gonna be great.
Oh,
So
Lord.
where to begin with this? This is
Where do we start?
yeah.
I guess, do we start with Vulkan? Do we start with Nocturne? Do we start with?
Let's start with Vulkan. So actually no, let's start with the
Should we start with like, but pre
yeah. Let's start with like pre-Vulkan.
So pre Vulkan, these guys, they really weren't all that special, believe it or not. The only thing really special about them is the whole Salamanders, Space Wolves, and Alpha Legion thing, where they're like 3 legions that were separated
I remember that, yeah.
for whatever reason. Like Emperor had some kind of special plans for them, which I mean, Vulkan and the Salamanders kind of make sense because Vulkan's the perpetual.
Yeah.
Russ, I'm not entirely sure what the plan on that is.
Basically, like, be the executioner type thing.
I
Like,
mean,
be the
that's-
ones that do the shit that nobody else can do.
That's the only thing I can think of.
I have a theory, and granted this is like just a theory, so grains of salt. Okay, grains of salt. But if you're gonna have like 20 different legions, 20 different Primarchs, all this stuff, you want to make sure it would be interesting to see if the Emperor thought that by doing this, they could potentially go on ahead and unify the other 17 legions, because you know what you remember like way back in school or like any other like social group setting.
Yeah.
You got the normal kids, then you got like the couple weird kids off to the side. But the weird kids also kind of kept the normal kids being like, oh, thank God I'm not over there. I'm just saying, like no insult intended towards the weird kids. They're just a little bit different, right?
I mean, I could see that for 2 of them. I could see that for like Alpha Legion and the Space Wolves, but I mean, not really with Salamanders.
Well, unless we want to take into like the Emperor already sort of like knew how they would turn out, because in that case, Alpha Legion is like you want to keep them separate because they're supposed to be almost like your internal
They're your
affairs.
fucking CIA.
Yeah,
Basically.
they're your CIA internal affairs. You don't want them to be affected by anybody else. They're supposed to operate in their own unique thing.
Yeah.
Space Wolves separate because you want them to be like their own internal strength, right? Especially if they're going to be the Emperor's executioners.
Yeah.
Make sure that their kind of core unit is themselves, not like, hey, we're super buddy with the Iron Hands, right? Or the Emperor's Children or Second Legion. And then Salamanders, because if he knew they were going to be kind of like the good guy legion, so to say, to kind of protect the purity, they got a little bit of homeschooling, that type of stuff.
Either that or maybe from like a war front, you have like your ultimate stealth, your ultimate attack, and then I mean, technically with Vulkan, if you can't die, that's your ultimate defense right there.
Yeah, not wrong.
Yeah. Now, the whole... hey,
Sorry,
Amazon.
Dorn.
Now the whole thing, the whole shtick with the Salamanders, because they weren't recruited from Nocturne from the beginning. They came from Terra.
Yeah, well, I mean,
Yeah.
everybody pretty much came from Terra in
Right.
the beginning.
So what made them special on Terra is, I guess, the best question to ask in that.
Either
in
that, or it
regard.
could be the whole Salamanders, or the one chapter that's actually concerned with humanity.
You know, that's a very fair point. The Salamanders basically embody the
They have
the
apathy.
compassion and the empathy that the Emperor has for mankind. They're the only legion who actually give a shit about the people that are on the planet that, you know, they go bring under compliance.
I'm trying to find something.
But overall, that's yeah. If you want to go and kind of see what we can find about that, because truth be told, before like obviously Great Crusade starts kicking off, stuff like that, I'm not too familiar with them. I gotta be honest. They're one of the legions that kind of slips under the radar.
I really don't know much
for the
about
most
the
part.
Salamanders.
Yeah.
Even from
They're a legion I usually skip over. You know. That's,
even from some of the research that I've done, there really doesn't tend to be much about the Salamanders, though, is there? Like book wise,
usually like not exceptionally. No. Now,
Yeah.
granted, they like every legion, they have their moment in the limelights, everything else. But then you look at like what if people think like, oh, what did Imperial Fist do? Oh, you know this, Sons of Forest, Space Wolves, anybody else? You're like, yeah, they had their moment in the sun right here. Salamanders are like, Vulkan lives, stop.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like everything that happens with the Salamanders is mainly just Vulkan.
Oh yeah,
Like you don't really hear anything about the rest of the Legion. Maybe Agrax, Agatone, but that's
Well,
that's like 40K
that's
and all
40K,
that new.
right.
With the,
well, even in the even like in the beginning, it says here that, I mean, they really didn't do a whole lot. For the most part, they would they were
lazy, is what I'm hearing. Is that right?
No,
Okay.
no. So basically, they would be sent piecemeal to help with reinforcement of battle groups. They would be given like specialist units. So they would be given as like specialist units to like rogue trader expeditions.
Oh, that's kind of cool. It's almost like, was it more like human entourage?
They were used to add Astartes might to emergency interdiction task forces sent in to deal with sudden threats arising behind the lines of the advancing crusade, such as deadly space hulks appearing without warning from the Imperium, or in response to Xenos Corsair raids.
So what I'm hearing is that they played support. On
Yeah,
the team.
they were pretty much like support. They were pretty much a support class.
I see that. Pretty cool.
so apparently they have a unique genetic trait called firesight, which effectively is infrared, and it lets them hone in on particular heat signatures.
Oh, they
and
have
stuff.
predator vision.
They have,
jeez.
they basically have they inherently have the Night Lord's prey sight, where prey sight is basically the infrared that they have in all their armor and
Yeah.
their
But for
visors
them,
and
it's
stuff.
like default. Go
Yeah,
from
to
there.
these guys it's just default. Like an Astartes can see even in pitch blackness, these guys can see.
Just infrared.
Yeah, they can see not only in pitch blackness, but they can also switch on infrared.
Also, I
and
do
some
also
predator
know
shit.
they have that thing to where like they're obviously more resistant to like high temperatures, stuff like that.
Right.
They're a bit more like melanated. So there's no good way of putting that. Just quite frankly, they have the black person superpower. Right?
You know what we used to call blooded salamanders in 40K?
Don't make me censor this. But yeah, that kind of ties into like how they're almost like the Forge Masters, going back to the idea that they played the support role, right? That's what they're kind of known for. Now, granted, again, I don't know a whole bunch, but like before Vulkan came into play, maybe there were, maybe there weren't. Don't take my word for that, but at least as Salamanders, they were huge on the Forge. That's what they did. There's like family of the Forge, like they're living a medieval peasant life, except with power armors, and they're badass as fuck.
Yeah.
So it kind of worked out in that case.
Along the lines of that too, Salamanders are the only ones who are actively like encouraged to go back home and spend time with their families
See, that's
and
so
friends and stuff
wholesome.
like
I
that.
like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like no other legion's like, no, your family's dead. Your family is the guy next to you, is your Primarch, everything. These guys are like, no, go. I mean, oh, grandma's got a birthday? No, go. By all means, go. Don't worry. We'll take care of this pacification.
That's nice, but also that's a little bit fucked up when you think about it. Because think about it, because the Astartes technically don't have an expiration date. Like I'm sure they do, but it's so long that it doesn't really fucking matter. Meanwhile, humans, assuming they are receiving rejuvenate treatment, which most people do not, is like, hey, I know you've been away on the war front for 50 years. Why don't you go back? And it's like, oh, my brother and sister are now like decrepit. My sister died. And you get to see generations and generations. And you just see the people that like you're supposed to care and connect with slowly start to basically forget you.
Yeah.
As like you have to go back generation after generation. And then at the same time, you're seeing the people that you were supposed to love and care for, they just die off. Meanwhile, you're still standing.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit fucked up, gotta be honest.
Yeah, there's that. That is true.
So interestingly here, it says one of their, I guess, little traits that gave them a slightly unfavorable reputation during the early days of the Crusade. Against the foes of humanity, there were no odds the 18th would not face, no drop of blood it would not shed, no sacrifice it would not make in terms of legionaries or material in order to serve the Great Crusade and protect mankind. This kind of asymmetrical battle, it was soon whispered by some of their contemporaries, had become an addiction of sorts to the Legion, and their valor less glorious as it had become almost suicidal in temper.
That makes more sense.
So it's almost to a like an Imperial Fist type. Well, I mean to a degree, but slightly more. Whereas Imperial Fists are, this is my rock. I'm gonna take this rock. The only way you're gonna take this rock is over my dead body.
The way that I've seen them in lore and also like talked about, it usually tends to be where like people have disdain because it's almost like a cult of sacrifice. Obviously, maybe not to the extent of Krieg, which also the meme Krieg is usually way hyperbolic as to what they actually are, but the entire point is like, it's almost like they want to be heard, to the point where it's like, hey, I know like it makes zero fucking sense for us to sacrifice 100 Marines to hold this one place to save like 1,000 civilians.
Yeah,
mathematically that doesn't translate at fucking all, but at the same time they'll do it with no thought. Now, granted, for humanity, but also it's like, at some what point are you like asking for the punishment,
Yeah, it's true.
So, in the worst instances of this is the Manticore Cataclysm, where retreat became often unthinkable, even when tactical expediency would dictate otherwise. The Legion paid for blood for its own untenable standard of valor and service, which got them remarks from someone, who was it, Lord Commander Actia of the 12th Legion, the Ultramarines, who was, I guess, part of the Manticore Cataclysm, is open on record stating that the 18th carried the seeds of their own destruction with them. He claimed they were no more reliable ultimately than the quixotic 5th Legion, whose control would increasingly cause difficulties for the Great Crusade, or the 3rd Legion, who had yet to have their gene seed deficiencies repaired by the finding of their own Primarch. Basically said, they're no more reliable than the White Scars, because the White Scars just do what they want, and they're gonna cause.
Yeah, that's true, and that kind of makes sense whenever you think about it in terms of like, obviously everybody wants to love the Salamanders. I like the Salamanders. I got nothing against them, right? But from like an actual tactical perspective, they're fucking terrible teammates. I gotta be honest, and also they're not as good as they really should be when it comes to this stuff. Where it's like, oh. Again, you don't need to save the 1,000 civilians. The translation between like technically even like 10 Marines to 1,000 civilians is way fucking skewed, right? Yeah. One Space Marine's worth like a fucking million humans, at least like roughly. So it kind of comes down to a case of, why the fuck do we want allies that are basically gonna effectively commit suicide when they don't fucking need to? I mean, they're just gonna run into suicide by enemy fire. What the fuck are we supposed to do with this?
Yeah.
Well, why would you send me this when you could just send me send me one of these other legions that's doing shit smart?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
And eventually, I think it says by the fourth solar decade, so 40 years of the Great Crusade, it was it was really ultimately questioned whether or not the 18th Legion would even survive or not.
Damn.
40 years into the Great Crusade, they had, I think, like 20. I think they started out with like 20,000, and had whittled it down by basically being dumb to, shit, we don't even know if the 18th's going to survive or not.
Damn.
That's crazy. Because they were also thought to be like the slowest legion, and they don't know, because they can move as fast as the regular Astartes, but they don't know if it was because of their psycho indoctrination of, you know, being against hastiness and you know, impetuousness and stuff like that, or if it was because of the Nocturne being such a high gravity, anything like that. But I mean, they're still faster than normal humans, and they can keep up with regular Astartes, but for some reason they're just,
if they have the
slow.
choice to, they're going to be a little. They're going to.
They have like a slow
bit.
reaction time to shit.
Interesting.
Plague Marine speed.
It's almost like, when you think about it, all this kind of correlates pretty quick to being the blacksmith, because that's sort of like Salamander's entire bit, right? It's like, oh, we're great blacksmiths. We make the best bolters. We make the best this, the best thunderhammers, and I'm assuming
The best craftsmanship takes time.
Exactly.
Right.
It takes time and takes dedication. You got to like super hone in on the details, right? And you have the love for the craft. Yeah.
And I mean, it even makes sense now, you know, even now with how they're, you know, more adept to like flamer units. A flamer unit is going to be a slow moving, making sure you're sweeping, and everything is going to die in its path.
Yeah, maybe that's why. Maybe that like slowness is what makes them amazing at blacksmithing and shit like that. You know,
Could be.
Slow and steady wins the race.
yeah.
I know that fucking heat vision would definitely work with blacksmithing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's something
yeah.
that I definitely wish I had for
So
knife making.
A cool thing that they do with with that is one of their artificers would make a heat emitter, but it was perfectly tuned to their eyes, so they would put it into their ceramite armor and stuff.
Almost like a discern friend from foe
when
type
they're-
deal.
Yeah, well, when they're connected to the new sphere, they can see each other on the battlefield, but anyone else using infrared, if it wasn't tuned to the frequency of their infrared, wouldn't be able to see them at all.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
cool.
Oh, that's cool.
Which is pretty dope. You could see all your brothers around, but know that you're still safe from anybody else using infrared vision or any kind of infrared.
That's
Which
wild.
it was a pretty neat thing that I was like, man, that's fucking awesome. It's a good way of having a tracking device without it being tracked by anyone
Obvious.
else. Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
So I guess now we can go over to Nocturne and all
Yeah,
that,
so let's
because
go
now
over-
we're pretty much like that's pretty much them for the Great Crusade up
Yeah.
until we don't know
Yeah,
if they're
we
we don't
covered,
know
like,
if they're
a
gonna
lot
make it.
more general stuff about
Right.
Salamanders. Now let's go into the specific chronological. Yeah.
Nocturne.
Nocturne. Put on your bulletproof vest, boys. We're going.
Little
I'm sorry, I can't resist. There's gonna be too many of that.
Little did you know,
Roll up your
Nocturne
windows, lock your doors. We're going to Nocturne.
Nocturne is a street in Compton.
So, Nocturne is an absolute fucking death world. Completely ruled by turbulent volcanoes. There's fire, there's radiation. It's subject to tidal forces caused by Prometheus. Its moon, which is also where the fortress monastery of the Salamanders in 40K is. But the cool thing about Nocturne and all the Death Worlds is somehow or another, just like fucking good old Jeff Goldblum said in Jurassic Park, life finds a way.
Mm-hmm.
And it is home to numerous forms of highly evolved and adaptive predator species and megafauna hardened by the environment. Gross. So it's basically like Fire Catachan.
Oh, gotta love it. And obviously, we know like the biggest fauna, so to say, is going to be obviously the giants, magma beast, whatever they're called, the drakes.
Oh yeah, the Fire Drakes.
fire
Well,
drakes.
I mean, is it?
Yeah.
Is the beast called a Fire Drake too?
I think the beast is a fire drake, and that's what they modeled their
The
flame units
yeah.
after. Yeah. But also too, there's a fucking huge level of radiation where Nocturne is, and that's why they get the dark skin from. Gives them like a dark.
I thought radiation
skin.
gives them wings.
Have you ever noticed that?
No, it's Red Bull.
Oh, and ball. Yeah.
Have you ever noticed that the sketch, the fucking sketch of Vulkan just looks like Lord Jar doing blackface?
See,
That's a fucking Chad image. I can't tell whether that's like a Chad chin or that's like a Habsburg chin. I can't tell.
bro, that's a Chad chin. It does. That looks like
You
Lord
forget
doing
it is also a
blackface.
hammer.
It really is.
It's like, no fucking wonder if I saw that chin coming at me too, I'd be fucking scared. Those things are weapons. What the fuck? That fucking chin.
Jesus Christ, that cleft!
Oh no. What's that? Is that one little bit? It's like, oh no, it's Mega Chin from like Fairly Odd Parents or some shit.
Oh yeah, yeah, the crimson chin.
Like, oh, that was a Crimson Chin.
Oh no, it's the nigga chin.
The way he said that.
Well, there goes our first edit of the episode.
No, you saying nega. I don't
The
know.
nega chin.
Nega.
Yeah, I said nigga chin.
That's literally how it was said in the episode too.
I can't help it. I'm from Appalachia, so my E's come out like eyes.
Obligatory statement of we just have humor. Just leave it there. It's humor. Anyways. Now, we'll say they possess one of the best fucking drips. We'll scroll up real quick. They possess some of the best fucking drip. 30k onwards. Is that fucking almost like chainmail style, just like visor in the helmet? Yes,
God, yes.
That is, yes.
Yeah, that man.
That
Yeah,
and the fucking that and the Drake skins, like
Yeah, I was trying to look up the fire drake, the actual animal,
and
like
it just
the
pulled up
beast.
the model.
No, what's it called? It's just bringing up like the legionaries and stuff like that from like 30k. Like, I'm assuming.
I'll say fire drakes were also like a special unit for 30k salamanders.
Right, and
Yeah.
I think that's what they modeled that unit off of, was the actual.
I'm assuming. If we're wrong or anything else, let us know in the comments, because I will say 100% just like transparency, salamanders are not our top legion we know. So if we do get anything wrong, and you're like, they got that wrong, just put that in the comments.
The next two
we'll pin
legions
that.
are not really legions we know.
Well,
Which
I
is
think one of us knows the last one.
we're gonna have to rein you in so hard on fucking Alpha Legion.
Oh, me?
Yes, you.
Yeah.
Especially
Yeah,
after what happened the World Eaters episode.
You know what? I went autism
love
on the
it, though.
World Eaters, and
We have to save you from yourself for Alpha Legion because you'll go full autism.
oh god,
We'll have
there's
a
so
20-page
much.
report on why Alfarius is still alive.
He is still alive. God damn it!
No, he's not. We literally
not.
watched a chain greatsword go through his dome piece.
We don't know if that was actually Alfarius.
It could have been Omegon.
It actually could have been Omegon.
Either way, one of them's dead.
But yeah, you're right. One of them is dead.
Either way,
one of them is dead, and I'm 100%
we only
positive
have
that
we
was
only have
Omegon.
3 Primarchs that are Primarch killers.
Well, we got what, Dorn?
Dorn is Dorn would be considered a Primarch killer. Russ would be considered a Primarch killer.
Yeah, Russ,
and then
for sure.
technically we have 4.
Yeah,
Dorn,
Horus
Dorn,
killed...
Russ, Horus, and Fulgrim.
Wait, who did Fulgrim kill?
Ferris?
Oh shit, you're right. I don't even know how I fucking forgot about that.
I forgot about it until just now when I was
Yeah.
like, oh, there's 4.
Yeah.
Because at first I was like, oh, Horus, because Horus killed Ferris. And then I was like, oh, wait, no, Horus did not kill Ferris. It was
No.
definitely Fulgrim.
Yeah. Horus killed Sanguinius.
Horus did kill Sanguinius, but do we really count that, though? Because that was like...
They fought.
That was... Yeah, but that was like... That was like chaos-infused Horus against fucking, like, limp dick Sanguinius.
Listen, it was still Horus.
I mean, yeah. Yeah, it was still a fight.
Horus. I mean, if you wanna argue that route,
I guess
Fulgrim wasn't Fulgrim. Fulgrim was a fucking... He was possessed by that demon.
Yeah, so...
And it wasn't until after he killed
technically-
Ferris
Ooh,
that
would
the
it
demon
even
took
count
over.
because it wasn't Fulgrim? It was a demon using Fulgrim?
No, it was Fulgrim.
Well, I mean, I know it was Fulgrim, but it was a demon using Fulgrim, not Fulgrim using Fulgrim.
No, it was Fulgrim. It was Fulgrim using Fulgrim. It wasn't until after he killed Ferris that the demon took over. But the demon was there. The demon was there, and it was already inside Fulgrim.
We got onto the fact that there's actually there's technically 4 Primarch killers.
Yeah. There's
4
Dorn,
Primarch killers.
Yeah, Dorn, Russ, Horus, and Fulgrim.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, do we count Horus because he was chaos infused?
Technically, Fulgrim's killed 2 Primarchs.
Who was the second one?
Fulgrim technically killed Booty.
That's true.
He slit his throat.
Technically, yes.
Technically,
Like,
yes.
He didn't like die, so I'm not
He
sure if I would count that.
respawned.
But I see what you're saying, though. I see what you're saying. He respawned.
So I would say
Got that fucking 1-up life mushroom.
basically
from
1.5.
that Eldar.
That Eldar Kush.
That Eldar something. Got that Eldar sloppy toppy.
Oh, God.
You can say what you want, bro. If I was Gilliman and Yvraine walked up into my stasis pod,
Bro, she
looking
okay,
caked
okay.
up as she does, bro, you can't, bro. That model, she is so.
Listen, but it's like
I don't
it's,
like
it's almost
being-
like
Really
it's almost
doing
like the dress thing and like
I don't
the
like
older
being a
times where,
simp.
like
Doing
it's
this right
not.
now.
It's just like extended.
I don't like being a simp for fictional characters, but by God, the things I would do to Yvraine if she was real, I don't care if
All
she
right,
could like.
We've already established. Well, actually, we haven't already. We just now established that.
Are we gonna have like a
that
fuck, marry,
Groot
kill
is a-
list for Warhammer?
Groot's all about them waifus.
Give me the end of the episode. I'll have a good one.
Oh God. Okay.
I'll have a really good one.
Anyways, let's get back on topic in terms of chronology, so to say. So obviously, Vulkan landed. We've gone all over the place before this, but Vulkan landed on Nocturne. Right?
Yep,
You
the
did.
My Little Pony jar.
Now, here's something else. This is like the biggest. This is the biggest evidence, I would say, in support of my idea that the Primarchs can adapt where they live. Okay, because do you think? Because I guarantee the Emperor did not like preemptively put Nocturne radiation inside Vulkan, all this stuff, but he adapted to it. Okay, and the same goes for anybody with his gene seed who was not initially from Nocturne or never went to Nocturne. When they went to Nocturne, they then got the coal black skin.
Do you think that maybe has like some kind of correlation between the whole Russ and like Space Wolves and Salamanders? You have Space Wolves who are obviously like freezing cold ice,
Yeah.
and then you on the other side you have
The fire.
the
of
fire of
Salamanders.
the Salamanders, like a fire and ice type deal.
Maybe. And yeah, like I get like it's presumably for those like raised on the world, Invoke was raised on the world, but also looking at just a Primarch by themselves, ideally they wouldn't be affected by their upbringing. Like if there's massive amounts of radiation on a planet, a Primarch wouldn't be affected because they're a fucking Primarch. Same
Right.
reason why a majority of poison wouldn't work, stuff like that. They're basically immune to regular influences like that.
To a degree.
No, to a degree, but the degree is also very, very fucking high, right? Same deal. Whereas like, oh, like
Kind of like Mortarion living with the Drakari.
well, yeah, Mortarion lived with Drukhari and he gained, but the resistance wasn't exactly like necessarily, like it was also physiological, but also was a lot learned, so to say. He got used to. Oh,
You
shut
heard
the
it here,
fuck
folks.
up! I got that.
He fucking admitted it.
admitted it. He
It was
admitted
not
it,
Drukhari.
folks. You
He
heard it
admitted
here
it.
first.
You've heard it here.
Anyways,
Got him.
God damn, how does it feel as the psychology
not
got to get got
Drukhari.
by psychology?
I just missed that because I was trying to speak about something.
Exactly. I
Yeah,
just
what
slipped
the-
it. Exactly.
That's not psychology. That's just doing that.
Yeah, it is. It's just slipping
That's
it
not
in.
okay. Pop psychology is full of bullshit, by the way. Never trust pop psych because it's fucking bullshit.
I don't trust pop psychology.
I know you do. I'm just saying in general for the audience. There you go. Yeah, anything you
I'm
see.
taking psychology classes.
Did you know that these are the 3 signs of a psychopath? Look here. He's like, no, shut the fuck up. You're missing so much that's not even relevant. Shut the fuck up. God, I hate pop psych. Anyways. Back to the topic for the 5th son.
Let us know how you really feel there, Snap Bro. Shit.
I will. You want to see a fucking Iron Warrior style thing? I'll do that on pop psych because I cannot tell you the sheer amount of bullshit I have to fucking deal with that goddamn shit.
Okay,
Anyways.
So, yeah.
the cum jar lands on
On Nocturne.
Nocturne.
Yes.
Yep.
The child is found by a blacksmith named Nabel. Nabel.
The Belk.
I don't know. I don't know these ethnic names.
The Belk. The Belk.
It's literally N''Bel.
Future Belk. Understood. I'm surprised
Nibble?
it survived. I'm surprised it survived. Can't speak. Ignore that.
Nibble, Nibel,
Nibel.
Enbel. I don't know.
This is gonna be the next. This is gonna be the next Girl Zune Pansy thing.
Oh,
where-
no. Oh, no.
Nibel.
Nabel? I don't know.
Okay, so Nabel, whatever his name is, found the child and recognized this child as the one prophesied to be a savior by the teachings of the Promethean cult.
Oh.
What is the Promethean cult, you ask? I have no idea. It's like isn't it like a sect of the Imperial cult?
I mean, before this, obviously, the cult existed before the Imperial rule in any capacity, so it was sort of its own thing. To my understanding, which is limited. Jamie, pull that up if you don't mind.
I'm looking.
But the
Already on it.
Promethean cult was almost more of like a way of living as compared to like a specific set of religious beliefs. So it was almost more of like a general philosophical guidelines as compared to like a religion of worshiping so and so in the sky or anything else like that. That's what it kind of boiled down to.
It's a variation of the faith of the standard Imperial cult worship of the God Emperor that has been officially recognized as non-heretical.
Yeah, but I'm saying before that, because obviously that happened after like
I know
heresy.
that's
stuff
what
like
I'm
that,
looking.
yeah.
That's what I'm looking.
Okay, I'm
for.
sorry.
Let's see.
Oh, it's basically implacable determination and the ability to determine to endure any hardship is of equal importance. Is basically the teachings, trials of
Yep.
endurance and strength.
Yep.
Often marked by ritual scarring or branding, as a commonplace. Basically, it's fucking strive to endure.
So we now have how many legions that have that as like a major ethos? We have Imperial Fists, Iron Warriors. We have obviously Salamanders. We have Iron Warriors. Death Guard. Damn.
So the Promethean cult places high emphasis on self-reliance, self-sacrifice, and loyalty.
Nice.
So that probably answers your question as to why they would willingly sacrifice
But they weren't
100
even-
freaking space marines for 1,000 humans.
Yeah, but this was before they were implanting gene seed, wasn't it? This was when they
Yeah.
were still like
that was the culture
Yeah.
of Nocturne. Yeah.
Yeah, that
yeah,
was-
yeah. So if this was pre-Nocturne, like, would they still have that disposition if they didn't know about the?
They still did.
Oh,
What
yeah.
happened is that before he landed, they had that as almost like the ethos, right? Of being like independent, loyal. You have to have trials to
Yeah.
overcome. But then obviously as time went on, it got a little bit adapted. So for example, like what you were saying, obviously in like more like M40 time frame, it's also tied into the religious belief of the emperor, stuff like that.
It's the same thing with the turd bearers, how they had the word before Lorgar even got there. Same thing.
So he got found, and I think it only took like 10 years. I think is what it said. After like 10 years, he was like a full-grown man.
That sounds about right. And that's another good point that I'll also like go back to real quick is that Primarchs growing up, it does not take like 6 weeks or some shit like that. I've heard a lot of fake news online where it's like, oh, Primarchs grow up in like 2 months and that's it. It's like, no, it takes longer than that. Now, granted, not like crazy longer, but at the same time, it's like not.
No,
We're talking maybe like a couple
it said.
years.
Oh, it didn't say 10 years. It said within a few short Terran. They don't really give an accurate.
Yeah, there's no like
description.
exact
yeah,
thing,
but
but
it's
like
still years, not weeks or months.
yeah, it's like, oh, your child's a toddler. The Emperor's child is now suddenly a fully grown ass adult.
Yeah, but within a few years, he ended up developing into a giant hulk of a man with
He's huge, man, huge.
his mind as strong as his body, and it basically got to the point where he was teaching master smiths of Nocturne like old he was teaching them like like smithing ways like that weren't even discovered like before the Age of Strife. So he was teaching them things that they didn't even know.
And that's some shit too. To have this young, whippersnapper come and start teaching you things.
Yeah,
you didn't even
basically
know.
show up out of nowhere. You're
Yeah.
like this 80, 90-year-old fucking old-ass
I've been
blacksmith.
doing this all my life, and you just come out of nowhere and you're teaching me these things.
Yeah, you make like a hammer and you're like, look at what I made. He makes like a better one in like 2 less seconds.
Yeah.
God damn it.
Never, Bobby.
So, but yeah, I mean, other than him really doing smithy stuff.
And then comes along the Emperor. And do. Don't say anything.
Well, they made him go through the Promethean cult,
Hold
like
on.
the trials and stuff too, right?
Yeah, he had
And,
risen and he embraced the culture he was with. He worked in his father's forge. He started hunting the great saurians and other beasts. He became a legendary champion. He ended up, he actually managed to stave off an Eldari raid. A
Salamanders
Drakari
have-
raid.
So Salamanders have like big fucking beef. I want to talk about like different legions and chapters and like who their big beef is, because usually they have like 1-man enemy or 1 or 2-man enemies. Salamanders is the Eldar, like flat out all types of Eldar. Usually all types of Eldar, but they don't like them. They're like that's the big nemesis pairing with
That's
the
the same
Salamanders.
thing with the White Scars, isn't it? Like fucking Drukari, the Dark Eldar.
Yeah, I would say like for the most part like Drakari. Yeah.
Single-handedly slayed 100 Drakari warriors with just a pair of blacksmith hammers.
Oh,
Nice.
shit. Brutal.
Well, he is a Primarch, so that shouldn't be surprising. But the fact that he used a bunch of hammers,
Yeah.
and nothing special about him either. It's just
caving in skulls the way the Emperor intended.
just busting their head to the white meat shows.
Holy shit! Is that the 40,000 Warhammers we heard about?
It might be.
Yeah.
It might be.
He owns 2 of the 40,000 Warhammers. But yeah, so basically after the celebration of him holding off the Drakari, he held a big tournament. There was a big tournament held with various contests of strength and craftsmanship that was pretty much common. And then a stranger showed up.
Oh.
And the stranger showed up and he asked only to be allowed to compete. I just want to compete.
What was the prize?
He claimed
It was a rare Zen flavor. I think it was.
the stranger.
European
So
Zen.
the stranger
It's Europe
comes. He
supplies
wants to
Zen.
compete, and he claims that he can best any man at the competitions, causing a whole lot of people to start. Obviously,
Yeah.
"Psh, who are you? You just came here. You don't know what you're talking about. And he ended up challenging Vulkan. Vulkan accepted the challenge, and the stranger wagered that whoever was going to win the contest would swear eternal loyalty to that person. Still hasn't said who the stranger is. Weird dude just comes out of nowhere and says, "I challenge you, and whoever wins, you're gonna bow the knee to the other guy."
Yugi, I challenge you to a duel.
It's John Grammaticus.
Oh my god.
We have to go to the Chud
Chud
dimension. It's me, John freaking Grammaticus.
Damn. Okay,
I'm
continue. We're
John
getting too distracted. Go on,
Grammaticus.
please.
Okay. So Vulkan agrees with a big old smile on his face, and the contest was as such. Basically, at first it was your typical like Rust things. It was contests of strength and endurance, and it was probably like foot races and weightlifting competitions and poses.
What's
and
the
whatnot.
Emperor's PR on the deadlift?
It's
But
a bodybuilding competition too.
But eventually there was really no way to determine a victor. They were pretty much evenly matched. So, for instance, there's examples. The anvil lift, where the contestants were required to hold an anvil aloft above their heads for as long as possible, ended in a tie when the two superhuman competitors both held anvils for half a local day with no sign of tiring. What's the solar cycle on Nocturne?
Ooh, let's take a look at that. Actually,
Jamie,
I'm
pull that
actually
up.
kind of interested.
Half of a day.
Half a local day on Nocturne.
So I mean, even for a normal person, you think that's 12 hours.
Yeah, even if we're talking about a Terran cycle, that's
12 hours of holding an anvil
And
over your head.
Yeah, but
Considering
it
that's-
could be like fucking. It could be like
A solid day and a
Colchis.
half.
yeah.
It could be like Colchis, where it's like a 36-hour day.
Yeah, and which in that case would be like what 16
And I'm
hours.
assuming
18
with
hours?
these
Oh, yeah, 18.
anvils, we're not obviously it's a strength of test, so it can't be like some light shit. We're
Yeah,
probably talking like some crazy fucking weight, where it's like, oh, you held this for 30 seconds, you held this for 35 seconds, and they're over here doing like 12 hours or some shit.
Terran years. Okay, so 15 Terran years equals 1 Nocturne year.
Goddamn math.
Let's see.
Okay, let's see here. So you said
Oh shit.
What?
Nocturne has sanctuary cities.
Well, we know where to tell the Democrats to send all the illegals now. Are we talking like refugee sanctuary cities, or are we talking about like Second Amendment
Vulkan
sanctuary
was
cities?
adopted by Gavin Newsom. What were we talking about
In
again?
other news from the SNL,
Each of the cities contains a chapter bastion of the Salamanders and are dedicated to one of the Salamanders companies.
We can't even look something up that we don't know. Without,
holy
like,
shit,
getting
guys! From the
distracted.
SNLL news desk, it seems coming across our desk here. Oh yes, it seems Gavin Newsom is going to be campaigning for the world of Nocturne. You heard it here first.
So I'm not seeing anything.
I want to get through this episode without too much shit.
Oh, this one's gonna be so fun for you to edit.
I can't edit this. There's no way.
Yeah, you
Okay.
can. We can have something slide across our desk,
Okay.
and now it's a news report of Gavin Newsom.
So if it's 15
Easy.
to 1, so it's like 15 years to 1 year. That's essentially a 15 to 1 ratio in terms of the normal calendar year. So I'm assuming that would basically be, instead of 24 hours, it would be 360 hours a day instead of 240 if 1 year. So 360 hours,
180 hours.
Yeah.
180 hours.
Yeah, it's
That's
15 to
so,
1. Yeah.
and 180 hours divided by 24. So the 7.5 days. So over a week.
So a week and a half.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ.
So and that's just loose math, right? That's
Yeah,
not like-
well, wait, that's loose. Yeah, take it with a grain of salt, but
Yeah.
that seems pretty accurate. It's like a 15 to 1, assuming it's like exact, right? 15 years for 1 year, 1 year for 1 Terran year.
Yeah.
Then therefore everything would just be times 15, right?
Yeah,
Right, really.
yeah, exactly. So if there's 52 weeks in 1 year, Terran year,
Yeah.
there would be.
And they
If
had-
I'm wrong, there's only so much brain power I'm willing to
Yeah.
expend for
And
this.
these
Make it from there.
motherfuckers had 8 Nocturnian days of contests
Wow.
Shit.
where there was no winner decided. So for the final trial, both men had 1 day to forge a weapon. Then they would go out and slay the largest salamander that they could. Vulkan worked all day. The Emperor worked all day. They made their weapons. They set out. Vulkan made a huge warhammer. The Emperor made a sword. Seems about accurate.
Okay. Yeah.
They both climbed to the summit of Mount Deathfire, which was a massive volcano, which was home of the largest salamanders that they would hunt for.
Like how Corn's over here still doing the math.
Yeah, I'm doing the math because he said
Stop.
8. He said 8 Nocturnian days.
Yeah,
So that would equate to times 15 would be 100 and oh shit, what did I do? Yeah, I did.
If you
eight-
get this
8
wrong, I'm
times
not correcting the
15,
math on screen, by
It's
the way. Fuck
120,
this.
right? So that's 120 Terran days.
so like 4 months.
So, which divided by 30 days in a month would be exactly 4 months. If the math is correct,
Yeah, so about 4 months of
their games lasted 4 months
Jesus
in
Christ.
Terran time.
Is it
nonsense.
an annual thing? I want to know. Imagine just like a third of the year every year just being dedicated to one big fucking festivity. Like,
Shit.
damn,
Just
dude.
1 year of partying.
Yeah.
So
Pretty much.
Dear Lord.
so Vulcan goes out and he finds this huge fucking salamander, kills it, takes it, starts walking back. Well, as he's walking back, oh no, the ground starts shaking, and all of a sudden the ground splits open, and Vulcan's just standing there with one hand on a cliff. He falls off and has like one hand on on the edge of a cliff and one hand on his prize salamander that he's holding on to. And then the Emperor walks up. Well, the stranger walks up, not the Emperor.
Totally
Because,
not.
because he's not, he's totally not the Emperor. He's
Totally,
just a
yeah.
random dude.
Yeah.
So he walks up and he says, "Oh, shit, let me give you your hand." Well, Vulkan looks as he takes his hand, lets go of the salamander. Emperor pulls him up. And as the Emperor's looking, the Emperor has, quite honestly, it dwarfs this, his salamander dwarfed in comparison to this fucking salamander. It was the hugest salamander he had ever seen in his life. And they end up coming back somehow or another. I think the other salamander got lost to or something.
But it ends up Emperor winning Vulkan.
Yeah,
Vulkan
basically,
cheats,
well, they had declared Vulkan the winner somehow or another, because I guess he had gotten his carcass, but he threw his thing into the lava and let him basically make a bridge with the salamander. He walked on the salamander through the lava because
God,
they
okay,
can.
so that's what happened. Okay.
So they came back with Vulkan's salamander, and Vulkan. They said, "Oh, Vulkan wins because he brought the biggest salamander," and Vulkan was like, "Mm-mm."
He saved my life. He wins. Yeah.
He saved my life, and he quite honestly had the biggest thing I'd ever, bigger than I could have even comprehended. And so he basically does I almost dropped that in the wrong
Ooh, don't
can.
do that now.
Almost had Minty Monster.
Yeah.
Yep, so he declared himself, and at that moment, the stranger threw off his psychic disguise. Surprise! I'm the
Yeah, I
Emperor.
knew
It
it.
was a
Psychic
blackface
blackface.
surprise.
Psychic blackface.
Psychic blackface.
He's put a wet wipe to his face. Surprise.
You didn't know this. He's just wiping off all the ash, but I'm actually...
Oh my God, he's white. I like to imagine like the SpongeBob like bald thing. So it was like white. Or like Middle East, I don't know, tanned. I don't fucking know.
And so he was brought before his poor battered legion, and he gave a pretty dope address.
Oh.
So he tells them, as he's standing before the salamanders, he says, "You have suffered. I know this. You have come to the abyss and almost surrendered yourselves to it. That changes now. I am father, general, lord, and mentor. I shall teach you if I can, and pass on the knowledge I have gained. Honor, self-sacrifice, self-reliance, brotherhood. It is our Promethean creed, and all must adhere to it if we are to prosper. Let this be the first lesson."
Ooh. I want to do something real quick. I want to compare that to the speech that was given for Angron. You know why? This is a little small detail, but also think about what happened with Angron, to where Angron was addressing them and said basically, he said like, he said a few different titles, and then he said also like brothers in arms or
Yeah,
something
he
like
called
that.
them. He's like, this is when the one captain, I forgot his fucking name, was asking or what said,
We had
with
a
you at
dope
the helm,
quote on it.
we're going to be your soldiers were the eaters of cities. With you at the helm, we'll be the eaters of worlds. And he's like, world eaters. It's what he called them. He's like, so then, little brothers, come. And
That
that's
was
good.
it. So that was that's an interesting thing, because looking at obviously the personality difference, that's a hell of a difference between Angron, even like initially, versus Vulkan. And Vulkan's saying, using the word father, Angron's using the word basically like little brothers.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's just an interesting thing. I probably reading too far into that, but also it's an interesting idea of like how the Primarchs viewed their legion in comparative to like what they were, how they were going to lead, go
Right.
from there.
Yeah. Well, it's the same thing like with Alpha Arius and the Alpha Legion, where he's like, you guys can use my name. It's just a name. It means nothing. If I need you to be Alpha Arius, you're going to be Alpha Arius.
Ooh, so interesting enough, it was he actually did not become unified with his legion for some years after his rediscovery.
Oh yeah, actually,
kinda makes
that's
sense.
usually that's pretty usual for the most part.
Yeah, because that's the same thing that happened with Kurz.
I thought a lot of people just kind of got like,
Sanguinius,
No.
Kurz. I mean, a lot of the times they were basically brought back to Terra for like tutelage.
Kurz was with Fulgrim for like 2 years before.
he was basically like alongside the Emperor. He was
Vulkan was.
Yeah, Vulkan was side by side with the Emperor.
Well, that goes with what you were saying earlier about the Alpha Legion, the Salamanders, and the Space Wolves all being
all three were kept really close to the Emperor.
right.
Yeah.
Huh. But so with frightening speed and comprehension, he started learning the arts of war, history, science, had a ferocious intelligence. He studied closely in the weapon forges of Mars with Ferrus Manus. Him and Ferrus were obviously very close due to their, buddy craftsmanship. Really, it doesn't say anything else about him being too terribly close to anybody else.
That's when Ferrus crafted him that fucking flamethrower, right?
Was it the flamethrower?
Yeah,
I thought
I think
or was it the Warhammer that he had?
Well, he had crafted him or no, maybe it was Vulkan that crafted that flamethrower, but he said it was too beautiful for him to actually even use it. So he kept it as a,
probably as like
a
an
trophy,
ornament.
basically. Yeah, as an ornament. Oh, that's what it was. Yeah, I think Ferrus made him the Warhammer, and in return, Vulkan made him the flamethrower because it was in Ferrus Manus's like personal chambers when Fulgrim came to talk to him and try to convince him to join Horus and all that.
Yeah.
He had made mention about the giant dragon looking fucking flamethrower that he had made from him, and Ferrus was like, I can't use this, it's too fucking beautiful, like it would sully it by me using it.
Damn, how good of a weapon do you have to make for that to be the case? Like shit.
Like it's gotta be a nice.
Like, you got a big
weapon.
fucking gun that's like special mastercrafted everything else. You're like, I want to fucking try this out. But if
Especially
it's
to
so
think
good,
that
you
like
don't wanna
something
try it?
like this is probably an artifact now that's just floating
Oh, yeah.
around.
Yeah, it's definitely a relic.
But does anybody really have a whole lot else for them?
For like Great Crusade era.
Yeah.
Yeah, we got to talk about the Eldar thing.
Oh yeah.
Yes, and we got to clear some stuff up about that because long story short, after and the unnecessary details, Salamanders were there. They conquered the planet. There's Eldar, and they had Eldar prisoners. Okay. At the end of the day, Vulkan was like, "Since you're the enemy, we got to fight you. We got to kill you. It sucks to suck, but I'd be done." Right? He had purpose. He had duty. He wasn't gonna sweat too much over it, but he was very conflicted about the Eldar child, and he was trying to find out basically what to do about that.
Yeah.
Eldar child basically broke loose, and as a child was obviously very freaked out. Holy shit, surrounded by basically giant monkeys with guns because they're humans. And at that point, Vulkan had to go around and basically put down this Eldar child, right?
Yeah.
The memes are obviously going around saying like, Salamanders normally, we love people. Salamanders win Eldar child. Burn, motherfucker. Like, no. Vulkan actually basically like sounded super just like...
Wasn't she like a psyker?
Eldar, yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wait, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, but Vulkan was super distraught after that happened. Like, even as Eldar, which, granted, Eldar is usually on the higher end of, like, Xenos you can talk with, stuff like that.
Yeah.
But it's still prime Xenos hatred Imperium, and it's an Eldar child. The fact that he was over there thinking, like, I didn't want to do that. He's basically mentally tearing himself apart, saying, oh my God, I can't believe I just did that. That's an awful thing. I can't believe I had to do that. That was terrible. That dude was distraught. Like, dude, poor Vulkan. All those memes you see where it's like, oh, Eldar child, ha, burn, burn. They hated that, man. I'm just saying, if Vulkan was a real being and he saw those memes, he'd fucking hate them. Yeah.
I mean, that would make sense because he's so compassionate when it comes to human beings and stuff like that. So, like, yeah, sure, he may hate Eldar, but a kid's a kid, whether it's Eldar, human, whatever. So I'm pretty sure he would still have.
Yeah,
some kind of
anybody with
compassion
that level of apathy is still gonna feel something.
for it. Right.
Another, I actually forgot about this one, was the, was it keratin? I think it was keratin.
I don't know. If you're asking about, like, pronunciations and good fucking luck with that.
It was,
Good fucking luck.
Is it keratin clear? All right, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
No, that's Claritin. Never mind.
Designated 154-6. It was when, the Night Lords, the Salamanders, the Mechanicum forces, the Legio Titans, and several Imperial Army regiments were doing a campaign. Basically, it was one of the moments Vulkan became absolutely infuriated with... well, of course, everybody became infuriated with Conrad Kurz.
Classic. Certified Nostromo classic.
But one notable incident was where the Night Lords slaughtered the inhabitants of an entire city in order to seed fear amongst the general population. When Vulkan confronts Kurz about this, he's just kind of nonchalant and this is what we're here to do. And they ended up,
It's not my fault they're made out of flesh. Shit.
yeah, it's not my fault they have skin on them.
It's not my fault they're spongy.
Should have gotten them circumcisions when they were born. But basically, there was a brief fight, and this was where Vulkan ended up reporting like what he had seen to Rogel Dorn.
Yeah, and that's whenever Rogel Dorn had to have the talk, and Conrad basically fucked up Dorn and was like, no, I don't like your brother, and then he fucking ran away.
Say that one more time.
Flew up Nostromo. I fucking like you, brother.
I was talking about before that.
He fucked up Dorn. He did.
Say it again.
He fucked up Dorn. Yeah.
I just like hearing
He
it.
did do it. You got some guy in like full battle plate wearing his fucking weapons, and Dorn's basically in a fucking cloak, just being like, "Bro, why you doing this?" And then he fucking like just jumps Dorn. Like, yeah, no shit. Yeah. Like that.
Bro,
would fuck
Kurz
up
is
any of the
literally
Primarchs.
Donnie from the Wild Thornberries.
Good
Like a
old-
stealthy Donnie.
Yeah. It's kind of a cool thing to think about. Obviously, like the topic of the Primarchs kind of, to some degree, have portions of the Emperor in them, right? And obviously, we talk about, oh, well, Vulkan had the Emperor's love for humanity, but also with how sympathetic Vulkan was to basically everybody, including Xenos. There's a case there saying that although the Emperor probably shut down his emotions for the sake of like the grand plan, stuff like that,
Yeah.
it kind of gives a little bit of credence to the idea that, hey, maybe the Emperor isn't like naturally a fucking asshole. I'm not saying he's
Right.
not an asshole. I'm just saying, like, if Vulkan, who shows the Empress basically love for living things,
Yeah.
shows insane amounts of empathy towards like Eldar and Eldar children, the Emperor probably has some of that too. Now, granted, he didn't act with that, right? The
No.
Emperor shuts off his emotions first, but I'm just saying, I don't know. I just want to give a little bit like a little golden star to the Emperor because, yeah, he's a fucking shithead. He's a bad dad, all that stuff. But like when he deserves it, he gets a gold star.
You gotta
right?
think he's really only a bad dad in the sense of some of
The ones
shit,
that fucking deserved it.
well, some of the shit that goes around, you know what I'm saying, like him pitting the brothers against each other and doing all that shit. Like that's kind of, I mean, sure, that's a bad thing to do, but what father out there hasn't done that with his kids just to fuck with them? You know?
Well, you'd be on fuck with him. It's supposed to make him stronger, right? Because if there was no, like, granted, I'm assuming
There's a
the Emperor wanted,
difference
like, small
between me
conflicts.
flicking one of my kids in the back of the head and saying, "Oh, your brother did it," and then fucking like full on like killing one of your dudes and then being like, "Oh, it was your brother's legion."
No, to be fair, it's not a bad idea because, I mean, think about it. You get like 2 kids and you say like, hey, whoever rakes up the most leaves gets like an extra brownie for dessert, right?
Yeah.
They do it. One kid wins several times in a row, Dorn, and in that case, he gets the extra brownie. Other kids like, well, Dad's not giving me any brownies, but at the same time, he's gonna, but he's gonna try his damnedest to get better at it. So he does that. So it's sort of the same deal where like a little bit of competition.
So when it
builds
came
up
to
your skills.
Perturabo in the HUD, I really do think the Emperor was trying to toughen him the fuck up, and like he's like,
Quit being a bitch.
yeah, like maybe that's what he was thinking. Like maybe if I send him against the Harud, he'll grow the fuck up.
Maybe
and
if I
stop being
send
a
him
whiny-
to these things that quite literally advance his legion's age and make them
That's
decay.
like looking at your like 6-year-old son, like, okay, little Timmy, you need to toughen up. We're gonna send you to the front lines of Ukraine. Have fun.
you know.
If you hear a drone, duck.
Hey, listen, nobody said that the Emperor made good choices, okay?
That's true, but
you
you
kind of
Sending your
understand.
fucking 12-year-old to the front lines
Yeah.
because he's playing too much Fortnite. And here you go. Here's real life Fortnite.
Gets a building.
Yeah,
No
you
Gets
know,
a
build.
shovel, dig a trench.
The ultimate no build mode.
Yeah, the
Here.
Emperor's idea for his sons was very clearly not necessarily based on ability, right? Because Perturabo had a whole bunch of ability. Vulkan has a lot of ability. Kurz had a lot of ability. But it came down to kind of like the mental state of what they did. Where it's like, hey, you know, listen, even if like hypothetically, totally not true, even if hypothetically Perturabo had more skill than Dorn, which he totally didn't, but hypothetically, if he did, it still would have probably come down to the fact of you have the better mindset when it comes to what you do as compared to your brother, who's a little bit fucked up, whether because he's petulant, he's got literal schizophrenia, he keeps on worshiping the stuffed animal as a god, different stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So the Emperor's lines for his sons drew a lot more about like the actual mental state they were in as compared to just like their actual abilities. Because they're fucking Primarchs. If they want to learn how to do something well, they're gonna fucking learn how to do it, and they're gonna be the best at it. Yeah.
Oh yeah. So, but yeah, Big E, man, he is the example of a great father and a shitty one at the same time.
Well, sort of like if you look at what he does, and not everything,
Yeah.
but I would say a decent bit of the things he does, and if you at least look at them on paper, they're not terrible ideas.
Yeah.
Okay. And again, I'm not
Everything
trying to,
looks good on paper.
yeah, exactly. But a lot of stuff looks good on paper. Yeah. So it's like, oh, we'll introduce some competition to help the kids out. I'm gonna like care for them a little bit, but I'm not gonna be too nice. I'm still gonna make sure they go through like struggles and trials to build character.
Or I'm going to put them in a position that will make them struggle.
Exactly.
Some way, shape, or form.
Yeah, exactly. And again, like I'm not trying to say the Emperor did nothing wrong. The Emperor did stuff wrong, but we got to give credence to where it's due. The Emperor was a jackass, but it's not like he was just some batshit insane parent, right? He had an idea about why he was doing stuff. Yeah.
Now there are some times where I think he was just doing it to for a laugh, for him and Malcador to have a fucking giggle on the side.
I don't think it ever went. Like you could arguably say a few things, but I'm saying like,
I mean, look at the way he okay, so like how he would show favoritism to one and not the other, i.e., Emperor's children, the only ones who can use the Palatine Aquila.
Well, yeah, it's honors.
What the fuck's the point of that?
It's the honor of it, because I mean, there's still
sure that it's an honor. Don't get me wrong, but that legion was the only legion, and the only thing they ever really did was not die to some kind of horrid fucking genetic trait.
Well, also it's because they were like with the Emperor the most, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, yeah, because they were like the preemies of the fucking.
Well, yeah, the
Astartes.
But I mean, I mean, you can even look at it that even though they didn't wear the Aquila, look at like the Luna Wolves. The Luna Wolves were quite honestly the best legion, and they knew it. They didn't give a fuck. They didn't give a fuck. I don't have to wear the Aquila to know that.
But how many other legions were like, why the fuck do they get to wear the Aquila? And
well, it's also a big thing, and this is where you can also very clearly see this with how the Emperor interacts with a lot of legions, like Salamanders, Fists, Emperor's Children, yada yada. Iron Warriors, a very big, clear case example for this.
Yeah.
To where the Emperor was giving out basically rewards for doing good shit, right? So like using the Aquila, stuff like that. But also he wanted each legion to be very comfortable with like building an entire sense of purpose on their own achievements and not comparing themselves to others. Right.
Yeah, fair.
So if Imperial Fist is something really cool and they're like, hey, good job. But Imperial Fist said, we did good. Here's our tradition. Here's our reward. We're very happy with this. They were looking at another legion and saying, but Dad, he got that. We don't have as many as him. You know, it's like, I give you a Jolly Rancher. I give you a Snickers. Okay. Instead of just being content with what you had and being happy with what you had, you got to go around like, well, I only got a Jolly Rancher. He got a Snickers. Why would he get that? Why can't we both have that?
Because I'm better than you.
And some legions, like the Space Wolves, will occasionally go and say shit like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's the entire, well, again, this is obviously me talking about a fictional character and all that stuff. So grain of salt. But that seems to be the case where the Emperor was a lot more happy when the Legion based what they did on their own duty. As compared to saying like, oh, well, we got the bad and complaining all the time, because then they don't get rewarded because they're acting like little shits.
But so the next little bit for the Salamanders, we've already kind of covered. We've covered the drop site massacre. Do you want to cover like the
we got to cover more of the drop site massacre. I hate to we won't go again. We've covered this so many times.
Let's go ahead and kick the dead horse.
Yeah, pretty much.
Well, we already know what happened.
Only one more time. Two more.
No, we have to do it one more time after this. We have to do it with the Raven Guard.
Yeah.
There's two more times.
Yeah, I was thinking about Alpha Legion.
God damn it!
It's Alpha Legion, though. We can kind of shrug our shoulders, be like, were they really there? I don't know.
Were they there? Were they not there?
They were there, but question is what was their fucking game plan?
They were there in different colors.
Okay. Okay, but long story short, obviously, Istvaan happens, right?
Yep, Istvaan happens.
And as Istvaan V unfurls, they are basically leading the Retribution Force. They get surprised, and then next thing you know, they get slaughtered.
Right.
2 Primarchs died that day. Obviously, you had Ferrus Manus losing his head.
Oh yeah, Vulkan did die there, didn't he?
And this is the big thing, is that Salamanders, by the way, were the most decimated legion, like, or at least like on par. Raven Guard was by far got off the least amount of losses, but all legions were devastated.
No, I thought fucking the Raven Guard got hit even the worst.
Yeah, but it wasn't
It's
as bad
not.
as the Salamanders and the
no,
Iron Hands
exactly.
did.
Because
We're
they
still
went in-
talking like 98% dead, but
I
we're
was gonna
saying
say
like,
the Raven. Yeah, I was gonna say Raven Guard went in with like fucking 30,000 and came back with like 3 or some
but
shit.
the
like that.
Raven Guard was actually able to like have a ship due to the one officer having a prophecy that came in and
yeah.
swooped up Korax and plus other Marines.
Yeah.
Salamanders were like, oh, and Iron Hands were just like, oh, well, we got to take a ship and run past the blockade, and very few of them got out.
Right.
So, yeah, so I would argue, at least it seems to be what the books are implying. I could be wrong. But I'm pretty sure.
It seems like Iron Hands got the most ships out,
Yeah.
but Raven Guard got like technically the most people, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. Because you don't really know. You don't hear
'Cause-
anything about the Salamanders.
Well, because if you
after
notice in
X-Men
a lot
5.
of the
It's
Broken
all
Legion,
about the Shattered Legions after that.
yeah, if you notice in a lot of the Shattered Legion books, they're on board an Iron Hands vessel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And usually it's literally a random gaggle of Iron Hands, Salamanders, and Raven Guard that are sprinkled in that are just
Yeah.
like, well,
Shattered Legions and Black Shields are so fucking goated. I love that shit. Man. Anyways, but one of the two main things to kind of take away from this. The first thing, they found out Vulkan was a perpetual. And I guess Vulkan himself found out he was a perpetual because he was killed in István. And then he's like, oh, he's dead, yay. And then suddenly he reappears like, oh shit, they kill him again. They kill him again. They kill him again. Eventually, that's whenever they kind of...
this is on the Nightfall by this point, ain't it?
Yeah, I
Well,
was gonna say,
eventually
isn't
it gets
that
to the
when-
Nightfall.
Yeah, Kurz. This is when Kurz was like, "Fucking, I'm taking this guy."
I know.
Ooh,
I know
this looks fun.
Well, I know they killed him a couple times. That's how they knew to set up the entire. They had because
Yeah.
they had to keep on killing him apparently to the point where they could build this contraption designed by Perturabo on the Nightfall. So I'm just
Got a
imagining.
timer set like an oven timer. Just
Literally, yeah.
bang,
So
shit.
I'm just imagining as a case where like just for the next like 2 months they're just constantly killing Vulcan before we could even realize it. Just like, oh, he's back. Boom.
Got
Oh, he's
an
back,
oven
boom.
timer on, and you just
Yeah.
fucking fire one bolt shell into his
Yeah.
fucking brain.
It's like
you-
whack-a-mole for the next like 2 months.
they have this like Rube Goldberg contraption that just the timer goes off, a spike goes through his head, and it's like, all right, reset the clock.
Yeah, and before we get on to like the Nightfall, because we got to talk about that. I love that so much. But we
God,
got to
it's
go
such
on
a
to,
good book. I want to
Yeah.
go back and reread it.
Me too. But we got to talk about basically the what happened with the Legion. Now, one thing we've noticed so far, every time a Primarch dies, the Legionnaires feel that. Okay, that happened
Yeah.
with Ferris, and which we already talked about. They basically started diving headfirst into cold calculating machinery, which Ferris kind of advised against.
Yeah.
That was their reaction. Blood Angels obviously went fucking berserk, shit like that. Alpha Legion just fucking knew. That was how they basically know. So again, it may not be Alpharius, but we know at least one of the twin Primarchs is dead. At least one of them. Yeah.
For sure.
But for Vulcan, it didn't seem to have really an effect, which makes sense because I mean he died, but he didn't like die. So therefore, the Salamanders didn't really feel that effect. If there was an effect, it was probably them just being courageous and kind of like optimistic.
And I can't remember the dude's name, but they're the nude's name.
I just thought of something right now. It was fucking
We need
Vulcan
money.
dies.
Shadrach, we need money to rebuild our Legion. Start the OnlyFans, quick.
Vulcan dies. The entire Legion feels it. He comes back to life. He dies again. The entire Legion feels it. By like the 15th time, these guys are like, "Oh, he's dead again."
Oh shit.
But so throughout this, you have basically the whole Legion has basically succumbed to the fact that Vulcan is dead.
Yeah.
We saw Vulcan die. There's nothing else that we can do about it. There's like one salamander that goes through this one whole book. Vulcan
And
lives!
that's where that comes from. Vulcan lives, stomp. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's like his whole thing is the entire book is somehow or another, for whatever reason, he believes in wholeheartedly in his heart that Vulcan is actually alive and, you know, needs the help of the salamanders and ends up like recruiting a whole bunch of salamanders together to their like, we need to find Vulcan. Let's go find Vulcan.
I love that. I just love the sheer optimism because that's like Fabius Bile levels of almost like deluding yourself.
Yeah.
So sort of like Fabius Bile's looking at the greater demon is like, you don't exist. You fucking retard. You're not real. And then meanwhile, the salamanders are like, no, we literally saw him die. He's dead. And they're like, no, he's alive. It's like, no, we saw him. He's dead. No, he's alive.
Yeah, like that
He's
one.
alive.
Yeah, like that one scene where he's looking out into the warp and sees like the faces, and he's like, "Nah."
No, son. That's what they did.
That's the most like over 9,000 power level method of coping you could ever think of.
It was effective.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I mean, he wasn't
apparently,
wrong, but
I mean, I guess if it works, it works.
The best part is they were fucking right. So
Could you imagine being the dudes that were like, even towards the end, were like, no, he's fucking dead, you fool, and then all of a sudden Vulkan just appears and he's like, no, I'm not.
I was like, what the fuck?
he was like, well, shit, okay.
That one dude's just autistic screeching.
It's like, I fucking knew it. I fucking knew it.
So I guess we can go to the Nightfall now. That
Yeah, this is Nightfall time. Yeah.
On to the Nightfall.
Oh, jeez.
Meanwhile, back on the Nightfall.
Back on the Nightfall. Kurz was happy.
remember
Vulkan was
how
not.
remember how Dragon Ball Z Abridged had a Krillin owned
Yeah.
counter? I wonder how many. I wonder what Vulcan's counter was.
Insane. Probably. But also, it was just so, we got to talk about this because this is an interesting tactic they used because only Kurz could have really pulled this off. Only the mind of Kurz. Because with a Primarch, physically defeating a Primarch, even as another Primarch, monumental task. Physically defeating a Primarch like Vulkan, who is one of the tallest and one of the fucking strongest of the Primarchs,
Damn near impossible.
damn near impossible. Like,
Especially
even
if
for
you're
another Primarch.
especially if you're spindly little Kurz, which I mean, I use spindly little very loosely.
Loosely in relative to the Primarchs.
Yeah.
So it's like, how the fuck? What the fuck are we gonna do? We can't kill this guy. He only has one weakness: his actual mental psyche. As a reminder, when we talk about Astartes, now it wasn't as prevalent in 30k. This was mainly introduced in mass after Horus Heresy was a psycho indoctrination, then being kind of like mentally deadened to the world around him to reduce corruption, follow orders better. Primarchs weren't psycho indoctrinated.
Right.
That's an interesting thing to think about. Yeah. So that like their minds were undiluted. So that being said, Kurz was like, I can play around with this. He grabs a little scalpel and he's like psychologically kind of probing in Vulcan's minds, but he decides, I'm gonna fucking break him, right? If I can't do that, what does he love the most? People, right? And also his sons. So what's he gonna do? He made some fucking MacGyvered ass, fucked up goddamn bullshit and broke Vulkan. Like he did. He won. He fucking broke Vulkan.
Yeah,
Entirely, yeah.
So they start out basic, just shooting him, stabbing him, chopping him in half, beheading him, freezing him to death. Fucking. They found out that fire doesn't exactly work. They were like, huh, weird. They jettison him out of an airlock, drown him, poison him, all this kind of shit. He goes through like so many fucking respawns. It's ridiculous. He was looking like, you know, a basic bitch
code.
trying to play fucking Dark Souls.
Yeah, we got Primarch Rasputin over here. Can't die. Yeah.
So eventually he puts him in like, that's when he puts him in the maze, ain't it? And he starts like having him walk around.
There's some stuff before that, but then it kind of like leads up to the maze. Because before then, they saw a bunch of fucked up shit, man. Because the biggest one that I specifically remember, and they did a lot of this stuff, or well, Kurz did a lot of this stuff, was they had like an insanely strong, like some fucking like 20-ton weight or some shit like that. And it was like on a fucking MacGyver thing with a comically large fucking block across like from Imperial civilians. And then it's like, okay, Vulkan, this is going to crush them unless you hold it down. So similar like the holding the weight up in the trials that we talked about, except this was assumedly a lot fucking stronger because it didn't last nearly as long. And he's like, oh no, if you hold this up, it's not going to crush them, but also eventually you're going to tire. And eventually this is going to crush them. And Vulkan still, of course, tried to do it. Yeah. And he held down as long as he could, but as his grip slowly, and as his grip started loosening, as his like started to wear out, everything else, very slowly, the Imperial civilians and everybody else in the other thing that he could see, like the other room, wherever the fuck it was, started shrieking as this giant stone slowly came down because Vulkan wasn't able to grab onto it.
Holy shit!
Yeah,
Conrad Kurz was the original Saw.
Yeah, no, it was Saw. It was Saw. Yeah.
That's fucking crazy.
But it's almost like the Rick and Morty Saw. I could just see Kurz on board on the command deck of the Nightfall, and he's just like, oh god, I got so blackout drunk. Sir, there's a whole maze on the Nightfall. Oh shit. Oh damn.
Shit,
who did that? You did. Oh yeah. I don't remember that at all.
Says something about Israel. I don't know. It happens when he gets drunk.
Oh, have you not seen that episode of Rick and Morty?
No, what?
Oh my
Oh god,
God.
there's a part where he's talking. He's got like the world. He's got like a globe on, and he's talking about a certain thing, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know." Morty's like, "Oh, I don't know." He just starts talking about Israel whenever he gets drunk.
Yeah.
I did not know that. Oh, that's funny as fuck.
Oh, dude, yeah, you gotta.
Yeah, we'll
if
show
you
you the
have-
part after the
yeah.
episode.
Yeah, definitely.
But,
'Cause you have to see that.
So wasn't there like a part where he had him kill like 2 salamanders or something too?
There was a part because it was in part of the maze. He had some of his sons that he knew from Istvaan V, and what they did is he basically strapped them to fucking robots, and the robots were also trying to kill Vulkan, and they were trying to like fuck him up. But of course, attached to the robots was basically like the fucking his sons, the salamanders, strapped into the robots. So where the only way you could kill a robot was if you killed his sons.
Right.
So it was like, hey, do you save yourself from more suffering and torment, or do you kill your sons?
Yeah.
And that was actually a really easy choice, if I remember correctly, because he's like, well, my sons are suffering. I'm just going to free them. Splat.
and then
I say that it was easy. It wasn't easy in the books, but at the same time,
it
it's
definitely
like,
wasn't easy
yeah,
in the
that was
book.
the decision he came to.
And then it all
I'm
culminates to the funniest fucking moment at the end of
Yes,
the
it does.
where Conrad Kurz, being the generous host that he is, gives Vulkan his hammer. He doesn't realize, or he thinks he doesn't realize, that Vulkan has a teleport beacon on his hammer. So he goes in and there's Kurz standing right there, and he's like, "I fucking have you, Kurz." And he's like, "Oh, but what are you gonna do, Vulkan?" He's like, "You don't have your teleport beacon.
You can't escape the maze, Vulkan.
We're in a room that's sealed, so you can't use your teleport beacon." What are you gonna do now, Vulkan? And he's like, Vulkan just looks and he's like, "You're absolutely right, Kurz. I can't use the teleport beacon on my hammer, but it's still a hammer." And proceeds to beat the living dog shit out of Conrad Kurz.
Oh,
I
that's
just
great.
I love that scene because it's like, it's so simple, but it's 100% a mistake anybody would fucking make if you're just so obsessed or fucking psychotic like hers. It's like, oh wait, no, that's an actual, no, that's a blunt weapon. That's very true.
Oh crap, I gave you your weapon back.
Oh god, yeah, that's a good point. Fuck.
Should have given you a whip or something, not this fucking hammer. Shit.
Should have gave you like a stick. Shit.
Oh,
It's
just a
just
new
the little
book made out of paper mache. Oh,
It's just the comic book villainness of like Kurz that like just like it's that with the hammer. It's the whole I wonder what these drop pod buttons do.
yes. God, I love that so much. That entire like, series was so fucking great.
I can just see him like they should have gave Kurz a fucking little twirly mustache is what they should have done if they were gonna do shit like that for the books, so he could be.
Yeah, but obviously Vulkan ends up beating the shit out of Kurz and escaping into the cold void of space. He kind of teleports over and he actually lands up above.
He teleports himself into the upper atmosphere of Macragge.
And then he falls down, burning himself to a cinder. And like a really fucked up guardian angel falling down on Macragge, Gilman finds out and basically he realizes, oh, hey, it's my brother. Oh, he just fell from the sky. Oh, he's better now. What the fuck? Oh, look, his mind's entirely fucking gone. What the hell? And lo and behold, he basically has him strapped up like a test dummy in some secret lab because he goes batshit fucking insane. He tries to kill everybody because he is mentally broken.
Including Gilliman.
Yeah, like he's mentally gone. Vulcan's not there.
He sounds like Alex Jones on a bad day. It's just-
No, but it's straight up like crazy, like PTSD style, like fucking kill everything. Like it's almost like a Rambo moment where it's like the dude is he doesn't understand. He doesn't understand jack shit. He just knows I'm alive and I must kill. And he goes fucking batshit, fucking insane. Yeah.
Shit.
You haven't gotten there in the heresy, have you?
No, not yet.
Go.
I haven't listened to any of the fucking books recently. I left off at whatever the book is after Deliverance Lost.
Oh, you're not far from it.
Oh, you're pretty close to it.
Yeah.
I forget which book's after.
Yeah, I
that.
can't remember which one it is, but you
I
should be
can't
pretty
either.
close to it. It's during like
I think it's another Ultramarines book, and that's probably why
I want to say it's like somewhere it's like between Betrayal of Calth and Imperium Secundus. It might be during Imperium Secundus. Because isn't the line there when he has
Well, he is,
And he's
but
basically-
the lion comes after Vulkan falls in.
Yeah.
Well, I can.
So it might be. It's probably before like Unremembered Empire.
Yeah, but during this time, basically, everybody's going around. The remaining of the salamanders are kind of like spread out. The topic of, I think we mentioned this some during the Iron Hands
Oh, I
episode.
forgot we get to bring him in.
Yeah, we do. But we have the Shattered Legions, which was pretty much the applicable title given to Salamanders, Raven Guard, Iron Hands, because as a legion, they were so fucked up they had no remaining central command structure, so they just kind of followed local war bands, did whatever they could to kind of aid the war effort. Some of them splintered off and made their own basically factions, so which is really fucking cool.
The Salamanders didn't do a whole lot of shit.
I'm,
Yeah, no, they
I'm
didn't.
actually past that. No Fear was after Deliverance Lost, and I already finished that. I'm on the Primarchs.
Oh.
That's where I'm at right now.
okay.
And then it's Fear to Tread, and then Angel Exterminatus.
Oh, Angel Exterminatus is such a good book.
I might just skip the Primarchs book just because. Well, I don't like skipping it because that
You're
book
gonna what
actually.
now?
Huh?
You're gonna what now?
That's a short story, not a
Yeah,
whole
this is
ass
the
book.
Primarchs. That's
a short story, not the Flight of the fucking Eisenstein.
No shit. One of the most pivotal books in the entire Horus fucking heresy.
I'll read it one day, I'm sure.
God damn it.
How do you skip István 3? You basically skipped István 3.
I didn't skip István 3.
You
I
quite
didn't-
literally
I don't
skipped
skip it.
all of like the entire
You know how many
beginning of
times?
Darrow.
You mean István 5? You know how many times they go back to István? Well, no, you mean István 3.
Yeah,
You know how
but
many
not
times
the
they go
first
back to
time.
that?
Yeah, but you quite literally skipped like the side story
To
at
be
the end
fair,
of
to
fucking.
be fair, I think it says
Yeah, to
before
be fair,
when I
fair.
initially started reading, however many years
fair.
ago, I was like, I got to a point, and then I had like zero fucking money, so I'm like, I'll just watch the rest of this through like this one YouTuber who goes over the books, and like I'll basically read it through him because I don't got the money to buy the books, anything else. I go on money for Audible, and I did that, and I got through Flight of the Eisenstein. I'm like, man, that sounded really fucking awesome. Now that I know what happens, I'm actually just not gonna read until like I have the money to, and then after that, it was kind of. In my defense,
I'm gonna have to buy you the damn
I
book.
love how he's like the technical guy, but he couldn't find a free version of the Flight
that
of
was
the
before I had access to free stuff.
Oh,
Yeah,
So what's your excuse now?
lazy.
but
Okay,
so
fair.
while Vulkan is trapped, there's a little side story with John freaking Grammaticus.
Yeah, we did that earlier for a reason. Here he comes.
And so John Grammaticus, with the help, oh god, it's such a funny story
It
because
is good.
you know the meme of the salamander that's standing there and he's like, "Don't worry, Imperial citizen, I'll protect you," and then the bullet bounces off and hits him
Yeah,
and he
yeah,
dies.
Yeah.
That quite literally happens in
Yeah.
the book.
Nice.
So they take John Grammaticus and they hold him prisoner at first because he sneaks on. I think he like sneaks onto the salamander ship or whatever, sneaks in with them. But either way, they don't really trust him, and they're like, "Don't worry, we're still, even though you're a prisoner, we'll still protect you." And they're getting shot at by a word bearer's fucking sniper. And as he shoots him and hits the fucking ceramite on the salamander, and it bounces off, hits John Grammaticus in the fucking head, and he dies. But then, because John freaking Grammaticus he's a super perpetual, still working with the freaking cabal, man, from the Chud dimension. he respawns. And the salamanders are like,
Like, what is
whoa,
that?
wait a minute. You're not supposed to be able to do that. But long story short, the whole mission
He just had to reintroduce himself like a D&D character. No, I'm the brother of whoever just died.
I'm the brother of John Grammaticus.
I'm John Grammaticus.
I'm Braun Grammaticus.
That was John the Gray. I'm John the White.
But so they have this, he goes on this mission that basically they're trying to find an artifact called, it's a fulgurite spear.
Yeah, it's a Fulgurite. Yeah.
Which is basically it's a weapon that has the power of that the Emperor touched, or has how does that work?
Yeah, so basically, if the exact science, I don't think it's ever like 100% clearly defined, but what is known is that basically anytime the Emperor's gone obviously all over the galaxy, and there's some times where like he's either touched something or wielded something, and therefore it was imbued basically with part of the power of the Emperor, just kind of like by interaction. And that being said, presumably this has happened because of whatever the makeup of the material is. I don't fucking know, but that's created a few different almost like fulgurite elements throughout the galaxy. And they're really fucking powerful because it's the Emperor.
Yeah.
And one of the big things that one of the powers that's going to become relevant is technically a Fulgurite weapon can kill perpetuals. And also potentially some other stuff, just because it has the power of the Emperor to kind of like smite body and soul, right?
Right.
The perpetual is just the case of if the body dies, the soul doesn't leave, the soul just creates a new body. So, therefore, Fulgurites are one of the very, very few things in the galaxy that can actually kill a perpetual, like Vulkan.
Yeah. So I don't usually recommend a whole lot of Salamander books. I read through them all because, fuck it, I wanted to learn everything. For the most part, they're kind of boring. However, the book with John Grammaticus in it is fucking phenomenal. I know a lot of people don't like the whole John Grammaticus retcon and with the perpetuals and all that, but I absolutely love. To me, it's a good. To me, whenever they bring in the perpetuals and the the Argonians, I think they call them.
Argonauts?
Yeah, the Argonauts.
The Argonauts, yeah.
Anytime the Argonauts, it's like it's almost like a breather from everything going on. Like a little side story, just to kind of give you a little palate cleanser from what's going on.
Yeah, which they had to be included in a Horus Heresy to some degree, right? Because in the universe you have the perpetuals and all this stuff. So if you had the Horus Heresy without some addressing of the characters who are the perpetuals and this kind of esoteric stuff like the Cabal, and then it's going to be a case of, well, what the fuck were they doing, huh? So they had to be involved in some capacity, but you may or may not like the storyline. I'm not going to say it was terrific. I don't think it was bad. I think it was there. I enjoyed it. There's some parts I really enjoyed. Some parts I was like, meh. I don't think it's a big hindrance. I think people get too caught up in John Grammaticus, truth be told.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. But so I'm not going to exactly spoil everything, but he ends up actually stabbing, he ends up going through, he ends up fighting almost toe to toe with Vulkan, and he does end up stabbing Vulkan with the Fulgurite spear. However, Vulkan isn't Emperor made perpetual, so the Fulgurite spear it works, but it doesn't work.
Don't look at me for the science behind that. That's some fucking writer MacGuffin type stuff.
So it works in the form that it kills him, but it doesn't work. And I haven't read the short stories, so whenever you read through the short stories, you'll probably get more info on this, but you really don't see Vulkan again until Siege of Terra.
Yeah, and there's a little side thing where basically he's then also like killed, but then revived by being tossed in the fires of Nocturne.
Yeah.
And that type of stuff. I don't want to delve too far into that. That's just an isolated story. Long story short, he was mentally broken. He got better. He was with Imperium Secundus for a second. After that, he fucked off. And then he finally went back to Terra.
Yeah, he pretty much said, I need to go back to Terra.
Yeah. And nobody knew he was back there except for like Malcador, Big E type security level.
So, and yeah, that's really the majority of them during the Horus Heresy. Even the Siege of Terra, there's not really much. They're there, but there's not really a whole lot of Salamander shit going on. Most of the time, I think the only Salamander that's really there and they talk about is quite literally in the Imperial Palace, basically running back and forth between Malcador and Vulkan.
Yeah, there was a short story that involved one, which was like the Sons of the Selenar going over that crew that's been going on, yeah. But for the most part, it's not world changing stuff.
Really the only thing Vulkan does is while Malcador is sitting on the golden throne, Vulkan goes into the webway, because if he's sitting on the golden throne, Vulkan goes into the webway just in case Malcador can't hold the webway gate closed while on the golden throne. He's there as basically a contingent. While he's there, Magnus shows up.
Oh, fuck.
He starts, so they start fighting, and at first they have a little conversation about, all this shit that went on. Apparently, Magnus, there was a moment where Magnus, appeared, and basically, Magnus's version is the Emperor shows up and basically offers him his Legion back, says that he'll fix the Legion. All he has to do is change his ways and come back to the Imperium. Vulkan, however, says that it was the rants and ravings of a madman that was the piece of him that was locked in the tower in the Blackstone.
Wait, say that again?
So there's a piece, like the story where Magnus says that the Emperor was basically
offering him a new legion.
Yeah, offering him a whole new legion. All he has to do is basically don't turn traitor.
Right.
You know, come back to me.
Yeah.
Vulkan says that that's not the way it happened. That he basically came in demanding that he fix everything that he gives everything that he was promised, and he fixes everything. And it wasn't Magnus; it was the piece of Magnus, the shattered the shattered piece of Magnus.
Yeah, because Magnus was shattered into different pieces, so one of them stormed in, and apparently this went different from what Vulkan saw than what we heard from Magnus's point of view.
Right.
Oh, okay.
Basically, it was almost kind of like a burning of Prospero, Thousand Suns kind of. This was Magnus's perspective. However, Magnus's perspective was obviously askewed because it's what Magnus wanted to see.
Right.
And so they end up fighting. Magnus attempts to kill Vulkan a whole bunch of times, and basically Magnus Magnus gets fucking Dormammu'd by fucking Vulkan. It's literally the scene out of the end of Doctor Strange where he just locks him in the time loop. He keeps killing him. He keeps respawning, and it gets to the point where Magnus is like, "Well, I can't kill you, but I'm motherfucking Magnus. I can unmake you. Let's do that." And so he literally starts throwing together a fucking, a Doctor Strange spell with all the fucking time waving and shit. And he starts like literally disassembling Vulkan molecule by molecule. And somehow or another, still that doesn't work.
Built different. Yeah.
It gets to the point where Vulkan is quite literally just like a skeleton dragging a hammer behind him.
Built Nocturne tough.
And he, I can't remember what all happens, but basically Magnus runs out of power. He runs out of psychic warp energy or something, but he ends up getting like banished back. And that's when you see Malkador on the Golden Throne, and he has that vision of Vulkan just dragging the hammer behind him.
Yeah, and he's like, "Oh, poor Vulkan." Yeah.
I wish I could help, but at the same time, you're still alive, so that's good.
Yeah, it's very clear to say that also, like, Malkador, for all the traitor Primarchs, as well as, like, obviously the ones the Loyalists were going through, like, he had empathy. Like, now, obviously, when it came to the traitors, he was a very clear, like, no, they made the decision, fuck them, go kill them. But also, he did have empathy for, like, oh, he could have been the greatest, he did this, oh, I feel bad for Vulkan, Dorn's been doing this for so long. Like, it's interesting to see such a esoteric figure like Malkador going around and having this, like,
especially
very human level of empathy,
especially throughout the heresy. You've seen like a little bit of empathy, but he also wore that stone face, real hard. But like this is you're not seeing like Malkador on the outside anymore. You're seeing Malkador on the inside now, and what he's personally feeling and going through. You're not getting the stone facade anymore.
Yeah.
And that's really the Siege of Terra.
Well, we need to talk about like Vulkan's last command, so to say, his responsibility.
Oh God, I forgot about that.
Yeah, we can't. Yeah.
Yeah,
was the 7 hammers, right?
Yeah, the talisman of the 7 hammers.
Yes. So during
the fucking side quest you have to go on to get him back.
No.
He has 7 of the 40,000 Warhammers. Yeah.
That makes 9 of the 40,000 Warhammers.
Let's go. Yeah.
So he has a thing called the Talisman of the 7 Hammers, and basically it was basically a kill switch for Terra. If the traitors were to succeed, and if Malkador was to die on the Golden Throne, then he was to activate the Talisman of 7 Hammers, and it would basically implode the Imperial Palace and destroy Terra.
No shit.
Terra as a whole would be completely destroyed, and it would remove everything the Emperor had ever done.
Damn.
Yeah. So
that's almost like the Terminus Decree. It's interesting.
Yep. Well, there's like a weird different semantics when it comes to like the 7 hammers and the Terminus Decree, because if I'm not mistaken, correct me if I'm wrong, Terminus Decree was like the bioweapon to basically kill the Astartes.
Well,
right?
nobody knows what exactly is in the Terminus Decree.
It's assumed.
It's
implied.
It's basically a failsafe in case like the powers of chaos won. No one knows exactly.
Is that the bioweapon that Basilica Foe made?
So
not necessarily.
So that's the thing, is that nobody knows. The Terminus Decree is basically a fucking lockbox that is held on Titan, And the only one who knows how to open it is Caldor Drago, who's, fucking warp fucking everything that he touches.
I'm out of the warp. No, I'm not. I'm out of the warp. No, I'm not.
But in case the powers of chaos ever actually won, he was supposed to open the box, and in the box it would be whatever's in there. No one knows. There's only speculation as to whether it would destroy the entirety of the fucking universe, or if it was some kind of plans on how to bring the Emperor back. Nobody knows exactly what's in there. They just know that in the great times of fucking death and destruction that it would be opened.
Oh no, this was like so basically, so what I'm assuming the plan was for the talisman and the talisman of the seven hammers and all that was
Hammer time.
Yeah. So the plan was Vulkan would activate that. Somehow or another, Dorn and Sanguinius were to get the Emperor onto the Phalanx. Would that mean somehow the Phalanx would escape? We would keep the Emperor. Terra would be gone. We would be set back, but at least the Emperor's alive.
Well, here's what we know about that. So the entire get the Emperor on the Phalanx thing was mainly because that was an idea by Dorn, mainly, as well as Sanguinius, to kind of be like, okay, if Terra falls, save the Emperor, right? But also, they were not fully aware of the fact that, no, if the Emperor's dead, it's over. Like, it's pretty much gone. There's nothing to do. Or if Terra falls in this capacity, you ain't getting out of this shit, because at this point, the Malcador can stay on the throne forever. Basically, a war portal would jump in for Terra. Everything's SOL. Just straight up. There was no leaving this fight for the Emperor, right? So it was kind of mixed in with that. The Talisman of the Seven Hammers was kind of like, we would prefer that option of like this entire shit, literally imploding Terra, to Chaos successfully capturing Terra. Because reminder, also at this point, and presumably the Emperor saw this happening, is all of Chaos was kind of gathered at Terra whenever the Siege of Terra was happening.
Right.
So if Chaos won and Terra was in like one piece and they had access to the Golden Throne, which was, by the way, is still an insanely powerful device, especially for somebody like the Emperor and also like Horus whenever he's empowered. Instead of like giving them access to that, it'd be more preferable just to like wipe the board clean. And yeah, Chaos may like 100% rule the area afterwards, but they're not gonna have access to Terra, including like what's in the vaults beneath Terra, right?
Yeah.
Like in the dark cells. Yeah.
Or the webway portal.
Fun fact, it took longer for the Emperor to conquer Terra than the rest of the Great Crusade.
Yeah.
Reminder about that. That's how terrifying
It
the
took
tech
like
was. 500
years for the unification.
Yeah, it was like
wasn't
400 or 500 years.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the Great Crusade was like 200. That's just how powerful a lot of this stuff was, that even with like the Proto Thunder Warriors, which in some regards were better than the Astartes,
Right.
you needed them. Because that's the sheer amount of insane fucking bullshit happening on Terra, to where it's like,
That's fucking crazy.
yeah,
Man.
it takes you more to do one planet than the entire rest of the galaxy. Yeah.
Took
But
me-
so
Seven Hammers was like, flip the board. Let's go away. We're dead anyways.
yeah, and that was that. And then somehow or another Vulcan dies again.
Classic issue.
Or disappears, because isn't that what they're doing
He
now? They're
disappeared.
trying to
Yeah.
fucking gather the
so-
Infinity Stones so
So
that
that
they
happened
can.
beforehand. So
Yeah.
Vulcan, obviously, loyalist win for the most part. Pyrrhic victory.
We'll call it that.
And we'll call it that. At that point, he comes back. Eventually, the Primarchs disappear. Nobody knows really what happens to Vulcan. He only says, like, I'll come back when my sons prove they are worthy. And he scatters, like, the 12 relics, if I'm not mistaken. 12, 13.
I thought it was just like pieces of armor.
And war gear. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, like, he has the current chapter master has, like, the Spear of Vulcan.
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So that's where he fucks off to. He basically says, as soon as you find the relics, I'm coming back. Until then, vacation. Have fun.
Right.
Fuck off. Bye.
Yeah, fuck up, bye. Now, roughly, like,
I'm gonna go get cigarettes and milk.
yeah, I forget the time frame, but it was like, what, like 2,000 or 3,000 years after Horus Heresy? War of the Beast. We don't have to go too in-depth about that, but long story short, the greatest orc wog ever seen. The orcs finally come back with a vengeance. The Imperium no longer had the hegemony to kind of like cut the grass with the orcs, so to say, or drive them to extinction. They come back, and they're threatening Terra itself to the point where, like, oh no, the Imperium is actually looking like it's going to lose, right?
Yeah.
The only thing that saves them is essentially Vulcan coming back. So Vulcan came back, he kicked some ass, he basically said Rogel Dorn is still alive, and then he fucked off again.
Oh, there's 9 relics.
And he was last seen, like, tackling, if I'm not mistaken, like a Primarch into a reactor, and nobody saw him again. So there's some theories, and this is just a theory. No, like, real evidence to kind of back this up, that apparently that him and the orc kind of fused, and now he's, like, mentally fucked up again. because he's got like an orc in his head.
That's a fucked
Again,
up.
Huh.
probably not true theory, but there you go.
So, of the 9 relics, 5 have been recovered, 3 of which, the Spear of Vulkan, Kesar's Mantle, and the Gauntlet of the Forge, are wielded by the chapter's Forge Father, Vulkan Hastan. 2, the Chalice of Fire and the Eye of Vulkan, remain on the Nocturnian moon of Prometheus in the Fortress Monastery. The last 4, the Engine of Woes, the Obsidian Chariot, the Unbound Flame, and the Song of Entropy have yet to be discovered.
It's fucking Voltron. You gotta get Voltron back
The
together.
Tome of Fire claim that only when all of these artifacts are recovered by the Forge Father of the Salamanders will Vulkan judge the Salamanders sufficiently tempered to have passed the ultimate contest. Then, so the legend states, he shall return to lead the Salamanders in the final war against the enemies of humanity in accordance with the prophecies written within the chapter's most sacred
Yep,
tome.
I just want to know real quick, being one man, okay, one Primarch, Vulkan, how the fuck do you know where in the basically Imperial-owned galaxy, especially like closer to M30 after Horus Heresy, still technically Imperial-owned for all intents and purposes,
Yeah.
do you hide a fucking relic so well that it's taken them 10,000 years to just barely get over half the relics?
I mean, the Imperium owns quite a bit of fucking real estate in the
Well, yeah, no, especially because after Horus Heresy, even though like Chaos was defeated, the Imperium actually was doing like relatively okay. It was actually doing pretty okay because Chaos wasn't there anymore, got vanquished until the first Black Crusade. The Xenos were still pretty much on the verge of extinction for the most part. I mean, it was this almost as if the Imperium fully won and everything was okay.
Yeah.
And then it began to slide backwards into 40k. Yeah.
Speaking of new lore, did you see it? Well, because we're kind of pretty much done because there's not really a whole lot going on with Salamanders anymore. But did you see that there's a new Dawn of Fire book coming out?
Yes.
The new Dawn of Fire, the
yes.
Silent King.
Dude, I saw somebody explain the timeline, and can I say I fucking hate that timeline because that means that the farthest lore progression we've had was fucking 8th edition. 9th and 10th edition was them just catching up, which
Holy
is
shit.
infuriating. Yeah. Yep.
So will this be like
Wow.
the first like big advancement in the timeline, or will it just be kind of cleaning up the timeline?
This is kind of them cleaning up the timeline because there was a post before on our Discord server plugin was basically talking about, hey, we have all these threats. How the fuck is this happening? But then we find out, oh, actually, some of this happened before Plague Wars. Some of this happened before, like the Fourth Tyrannic War. I guess technically the farthest we've gotten is the Fourth Tyrannic War because that's like modern 40k. But this entire thing with the Necrons and Pariah Nexus apparently happened pre-Plague Wars, apparently, because he's going off to face the Silent King, and then he gets dragged away to fight the Plague Wars. Reminder, the first Plague War book came out with 8th edition.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, with Dark,
granted,
what was
there's
it, Dark
something-
Imperium?
Yeah, it's like Dark Imperium, yeah.
So I'm wondering if they're trying to shore up any kind of a loose end or plot hole that they
That's-
may have
I
created.
think
That's
that's
what
what they're doing is they're
Yeah.
cleaning up the timeline so that they can start progressing again.
Yeah. Reminder for anybody new or those who like weren't realizing when they initially did Plague Wars and stuff, they had a direct continuation. And then apparently they decided, no, we need a little gap here. So they actually retconned when that took place.
I think everybody's about to be disappointed for 40k.
Yeah, probably. I gotta be
I'm
honest.
already
Yeah.
disappointed
So-
for 40k. In the 10th
Well,
edition.
because so they released the Emperor's they did the Emperor's Children symbol reveal.
Yeah.
Now they leaked, what was it, the shoulder pads
And the heads. Yeah.
and the heads.
Some of them, yeah.
The heads and the shoulder pads look awfully 30k-ish to me.
I'm fine with that.
I mean,
a
I'm
lot
fine.
of them
I'm
should look
fine.
30K,
I'm
yeah.
100% fine with it too. But I think the 40k fans are gonna be disappointed because I honestly think what they're gonna do. I honestly think what they're gonna do is everybody's gonna get hyped thinking it's Fulgrim, and they think that Emperor's Children's gonna get a reveal for 40k, and it's gonna be.
No, it's gonna be 40. Ain't no fucking way it's not 40.
yeah, I mean they already released the
Fulgrim transfigured.
detachment rules.
They did,
for-
yeah. They did the detachment, but they didn't do it as like a whole or whatever. And even then, it doesn't say Fulgrim.
Yeah.
It says either what is it, Fabius Bile or
It's not famous, but it's going to be like one of the other Lucius. Lucius.
Yeah, I think it may be. They'll probably do Lucius. I don't think they're gonna go a full 40k army. Not yet.
I think they will because they need something new.
But I think that with those heads and those shoulders still look awfully 30k-ish to me.
No,
I think it's going to to be an upgrade pack.
Doesn't matter. I mean, look at the Death Guard, right? Death Guard's pretty much all like 30k models, just kind of like Nurgle-fied for the most part. From like the Death Guard, Plague Marine armor pattern to the vehicles they use, it's all 30k stuff. And that's how it should be, realistically, because they're mostly operating still off like 30k tech, which is plenty fucking enough. The 40k, they just get kind of chaos corrupted, go from there. So I think it's I think it's 40.
Yeah.
I just don't think they look those. I just don't think with what we've seen so far, I don't think they look corrupted enough.
Well,
if that makes sense.
Well, we're also talking about the Emperor's children here,
like EC, because the Emperor's like the head looks very. It looks like a clean noise marine, like one that like not.
Well, also these are supposedly the heads for like the baseline troops. They don't look like the noise marines or something else like that. So, you know, you always want to keep the baseline troops from being like too cluttered, like how Death Guard kind of turned out for the most part.
Right.
So, because otherwise it's like, holy I mean, it looks cool, but also holy fucking shit. You never want the troops to be the guys with all the decorations. You want the elites to be the ones with the decorations.
But even then, like, look at the World Eaters. The World Eaters don't look very corrupted.
World Eaters still ain't got shit.
Unless you're talking about the 8-bound, but that's about it. In 40k, all the World Eaters look like normal fucking Astartes and shit.
I don't know. It just, I just, that's just my thoughts on it.
Okay, no, fair play. And we'll see. Now to rein it back into topic real quick. Now, what we can kind of tell that they're doing, at least what it looks like right now, is all these different factions had the prophecies of the end times, from the Space Wolves, the Harlequins, all this stuff, and it's now the end times, right? And that can explain why they're not progressing it forward, because they want to kind of set up for the plot going forward, and that's what they've been doing the past like 5 years. Because you have all these new factions returning, new updates. The past fucking 3 editions have been, hey, all of our old stuff, let's update this stuff, right?
Right.
So that's why we finally have like new guard. We finally got like full line World Eaters, everything else. It's all the new stuff. So now whenever it's all caught up, presumably finishing off with like the Space Wolves refresh that's rumored to be coming up, as well as like the Emperor's Children, that's whenever it's like, we got our bad guys, we got our good guys, and now if we want to progress with like Vulkan coming back, instead of Russ, then in that case,
don't crush my dreams like that.
It'll be some shit like that. I'm sorry, it will be. You got better hopes than I do. Fuck off. I hate to say it because this makes sense even from my perspective.
Don't worry, buddy.
Dorn had his fucking landline at 30k. He'd be one of the last Primarchs to return in 40k.
Don't worry, buddy. We'll give you a hand.
I'm thinking after
one of my hands worth 2 of yours, baby.
I'm thinking after EC, it's gonna probably be Vulkan that comes back.
Shut your whore mouth.
I just think it'd be funny.
The Kaldor Drago has more of a chance of coming back in the lore than fucking Russ right now.
Whatever.
I'll tell you right now.
Because at least Kaldor Drago is still seen.
The same rumors that have been accurate so far about the release dates is saying that we're coming up on the end of 10th to some degree. I'm pretty sure I said that. But we're getting a Space Wolves refresh, and we're also getting EC. If the Space Wolves refresh happens and we don't get Russ, you're waiting. Jump in line with me. If he does come out, then in that case it would be a standard, like, here's a traitor Primarch, here's a loyalist Primarch, have fun.
Yeah.
But also, we're kind of at our ratio of like 2 to 1 so far, right? We have Gilliman, then we had Magnus Mortarion, now we're going to have, and then we have Lion, and we have Angron, and we have EC. So I'm just saying, if Gilliman also in lore took on 2 traitor Primarchs on 2 occasions, and now we have the Lion, and he already took on Angron, and now Fulgrim's going to come back, I guarantee you Lion's going to take on Fulgrim, go from there. Yeah.
Probably.
Hate to say it, but yeah.
One day.
One day, buddy. One day.
I mean, they're almost through the entirety of the Demon Primarchs. Fulgrim would be the last one.
Well, I mean, until they start bringing in the lesser ones,
like the undivided.
Yeah, your undivided ones.
Like, well, who?
Well,
Perturabo, Lorgar, fucking Alfarius. whether he comes
Lorgar's
back.
fucking her off in the warp right now, so
Yeah, but he could come back.
But I
anytime.
guarantee you, Lorgar's not going to come back till Corax comes back.
Yeah.
It'll be a they'll have to set it up for Corax and Laura.
I've heard all around. Everybody's like, oh, they've said all the Primarchs are going to come back. I can't find a source on that. I really wish I could because that'd be cool as fuck.
I mean, if you follow the trend, it's possible. Yeah,
but when we're in the nursing home, Russ will come out. Don't worry.
I'll be fucking 80 years old and I'll be like, they're releasing Russ, and I'll have a heart attack and die.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I can finally die now. Let's go.
Oh, hey, well,
onto like modern 40k, so to say. We don't have much.
There's really not anything.
Don't have much. I guarantee you, if I'm not mistaken, they were involved with Vigilus.
they've pretty much just been scattered through the Indomitus Crusade or through Indomitus era. They're in random spots.
When you hear anything about
pretty much their whole thing is they're more concerned about finding artifacts right now.
Yeah.
They're on a side quest.
I like this because obviously just to make sure I didn't like miss anything. I'm like, well, they've got to do something in 40k, so I went to like the wiki real quick to be like, can this like remind me of anything that I'm missing? And it literally just ends at fucking aftermath of Post-heresy. I'm like, shit.
Yeah, there's quite literally nothing.
So have they done stuff? Yes. Is it anything like huge to the point where if we miss it, no, quite frankly.
But all right, so I guess until next time, like, follow, subscribe, do all the fun stuff, and fuck it, we ball.
Overlords
Fuck
on
it, we
Drakari.
ball.
Fuck it, we ball.